Hello, and welcome to the show that answers the question, why will Neil get arrested? Ladies, gentlemen, and bees, thank you for coming. We are talking about a very important topic today, as usual. And today we're talking about RP. Hey, Bonzi. Hey, Gaurav, how you guys doing? Hey, Bliss. Hi. So, okay, hold on. First of all, I need to remove my fucking headphones. Thank fucking God. My headphones don't work. I just wear them for noise. Anyway, so first of all, to answer your question, Gaurav, the name actually comes from me making a mistake. I was around 13 or 14. I'm not very sure. Ask Courier because it happened in front of him, and he's also one of the one who has made fun of it for the my most of my life. So the thing that happened was we were talking about politics for oh, Sarin, he's at the back. Yeah, he's being his royal self. He doesn't want to be bothered, to be honest with you. So we were like 12 or 13 at like a night out or something. Night in, sleep over, like how children do it. Like we just get together, play games, and sleep. At one point of it, we were talking politics in the sense that we didn't understand politics. We were just talking politics. And during that thing, I was just, I don't know, trying to be like, hey, look how much I know. And I was like, oh, this. I think you should post the stream link after you start the stream. People quickly click on it and will engage. And okay, sure. Can you do it as well? Because it's a give and take. Let me just finish the story. So while having the night in, I was just for a second, I went like, oh, I know this person. He is a Papaksh. So for people who don't know, in Marathi, the word for someone who is an independent is apaksh. And these guys made fun of me for the rest of my life. They still do. But this has also been the thing in my life where, yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything. I was trying to be, someone who knew shit, and they couldn't even get the name right. And if someone like me at that point, who, mind you, was a Sangi, I mean, at least you could have characterized me as one, or someone who just doesn't know shit, could end up where I am politically, ideologically speaking, or how I choose to look at the world now. Anyone can. So to remind myself of that and never to forget, because I have seen people who work on the internet, not like someone who are just popular, who just work on the internet, get too full of themselves, even if they are not popular. Like this stage, like this, me talking to you, you responding to me, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, it comes from a state of authority. So just to keep myself on point, just to keep myself realizing that I once was a Sangi too. I once had the mindset that everyone hates right now. I once had a mindset that was bad for the people of India, bad for myself, bad for everyone around me. Yes, that is why the name what it is. The name is a reminder to me to be kind, to be accepting, and to explain to people why they are wrong. Or rather, I shouldn't say this, what can they do to make their lives better, make their ideologies better. That is why the name is. Yes, by the way, I just think you should post the stream. Gaurav says, after you started, people that quickly click it will engage it. If they click and there's nothing for some time, that is true. I would also say it's a give and take. The give and take here is that at one point, it's like, if I post the stream link, like when we start, we don't have like an audience that will show up immediately, which means YouTube will deboost the stream. And even if they come in slowly, Twitter may be amazing. Twitter is good for getting people in, but it's only about people you know. And people you know, I can expect them to stay longer. If you want to get people natively, it is much harder. So that's why I posted a few moments before. We had the situations where it was just me and Bliss for like about 30 minutes until people gathered. Also, Bonzi, no, I have not done any of the Sangi shit. Like, even if I do claim that I was a Sangi as a child, I was not part of any Sangi group. I was not part of any Sangi thingies or anything. It was just a mindset that I had developed because of my upbringing, and it took a lot to come out of it. And that is something I want to happen with other people as well. Hence name, hence all of the shit that I'm doing right now. So no, I was never part of a Sangh. I was never part of the VHP. I was part of a school that had a lecture that told us to hate like OBCs and STs and SCs. I am not joking. So that one of the reasons why I ended up being a Sanghi as a child was like very targeted education. I had an English teacher who would always say to be like a UC Brahmin, to always wear like long pants, long sleeve shirts and shit like this, because they are so nice and pretty and shit and things like that. I grew up in a very Sanghi environment. I've never done anything Sanghi, though, which is nice. Yes. Abigail, please check the message. Yeah, no, the thing that you were saying, yeah, no, we are not that popular. I asked. Yes, Gaurav. No, I know. Like all of us have been. Everyone who has been like at a certain level, like of a certain class of people, especially like OBCs and UCs that come into the chat that you see on Instagram, anyone who you see right now who's on the upper crust of things and when it comes to caste and shit, has been a Sanghi at one point of time, because that's how we grow up. That's what we have to change. That's what we have to work towards changing. Like there is no education beyond Sanghi education for a lot of us. Growing up especially. There is no outlook that you are ever taught. Like I grew up in like a fairly open place, to be honest with you. I had Muslim friends. I'm not kidding. I have Dalit friends. I had like STSC friends. But even through that, I was taught to hate all of them when I reached the age of 12 or 13. I was literally taught to do that. I don't know if Courier remembers this, if he's here. Like, I think it was either in school or in junior college where we had like a lecture that why we need to hate the reserved. That was a very formative memory for me, honestly, to be speaking with you. I keep thinking about that and I keep hating that. Like, why? How was that even allowed? And it was like designed in a way like, oh, you are going to lose like your position in society and like your what's the word for it, your position in society and your like admissions because of people of ST and OBC and reservation. Like there is only what I still remember, he the guy was like, and he was an RSS guy, like I'm not like, he was an RSS guy, and he came up and was like, for you general class, all of general caste, you all of us Brahmins have it so bad because you know there is a 50% cut for women. He said that very specifically. There is this percent cut for SC, this person cut for OBC, this person. What you end up with is like 1.5 seats per college in every college. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? This was me at 15 or 16. This was the education that we have. I don't know if any one of you has gone through this before, but my school was very Sanghi oriented, let's say. I did not really have a choice, to be honest, because I didn't choose my school. But yeah, it's a surprise I'm here the way what I'm saying right now and what I'm doing. It was very easy for me to become a Sanghi. Like some of my friends, like my rather people that I used to know, are like majority Sanghis right now. Like they would go to rallies if they were called to, which is again a problem. And the problem has extended to, like, this problem was already there, especially in the city I grew up in, but this problem has increased India wide. And one of the things that we are talking about today, the reason why India sees so much of RP, I don't know, with like, because we are streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Let's just say RP, or the sexual violence that we see in India right now. The reason it has grown so much to this point is because of a conceited effort for oppression. Oppression of minorities, oppression of women, especially within those minorities. They try to cover this up, they try to hide this news, but it's happening. We are going to go step by step. We are not going to rush into this. We are not going to jump in. We are going to go step by step. I'm going to introduce the issue. We are going to go through what has happened internationally in this topic. And then we are going to land back to what we were talking about with respect to India. I want you guys to pay attention. India needs you guys to pay attention because you are being used. If you are a Sanghi that's watching later, if you are part of the coalition, you are being used for this. You may feel that, oh, I feel so superior being a misogynistic creep. I feel so superior hurting women. Trust me, buddy, you're being used. Let's just read the chat quickly. I was hating on reservation and stuff using the same fucking line. Casteism will end when we stop talking about it. You know, the same line copied from American conservative politics. We using no brains of our own. Yes, that line is copied from there. BJP is never original. I can't believe how stupidly naive I was. You're not alone. Everyone was. Like, we were children. Now someday I see someone making similar arguments, I just ask the age and explain if they're willing. Yeah, exactly. That is what we want. That is, you hit the mark there, my friend. That is what we want by the last line. You need to start talking to people. We need to start talking to people. Everyone needs to start talking to people. It's high time. At this point, we can't ignore. Damn, Bonzit is saying, damn, but my school is clearly opposite. I didn't even knew my friend's caste, but still had so many Sanghis in school. See, I didn't know my friend's castes either. We were still given this education. It doesn't start with knowing your friend's caste. They don't want you to know your friend's caste. The moment you know your friend's caste, it becomes a problem for them because they can't sow the seeds of hatred if you have to start hating your closest friends first. They sow the seeds and the hatred comes out eventually towards your friends, towards your family members or whatever. Like, not whatever, but that's the point. It happens slowly and happens steadily. It is not immediate. And that is the problem. Yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's just start. Okay. The first things first. This topic is going to be topped in with what happened with Manipur, because Manipur is the most recent example, but it is not the only one. If you remember, 2 years ago, a woman was kidnapped, stripped, gang raped. And then she was made to walk across the road. She recently died. I would rather say she was murdered. Not by the action of anyone right now, but the action of the people 2 years back. it is still unclear to me, at least, while preparing for this, if she died of suicide, she died of depression, or she died of just sadness, or she was killed. If you know, please let me know so I can correct this immediately. The blissful thing about being an UC is never knowing what really going on with your friends who sits right there with you and thinking these things don't happen anymore. Exactly. Yeah, that is the blissful ignorance people keep talking about.
Who was abducted and then gang raped during ethnic clashes. A young woman who was abducted and then gang raped during ethnic clashes in India's Manipur back almost 3 years ago has now died. Her family said she died of an illness aggravated by the trauma she went through. The woman, who was only 18 years
I would still consider it murder, because the illness would not happen without the trauma, and the trauma happened because of the violent gang rape and rape in general.
years old at the time, was kidnapped by a group of men from capital Imphal just after the ethnic clashes broke out in May 2023. She died on January 10th in a private hospital in Guwahati, where she had been receiving long-term treatment. Her family has said that she never recovered from the deep shock which affected her health. In May 2023, deadly ethnic violence had erupted in Manipur state. Now, during the very beginning of the conflict, the teenager was stopped by a mob while she was out to withdraw money. And according to her own account to the police, she was questioned aggressively about her identity. She was then attacked, blindfolded, and then taken away by a group of armed men. The group was reportedly moved between different locations in the city over several hours and subjugated to brutal physical and sexual violence. She was eventually abandoned in a very critical condition and was presumed dead. She was later rescued by an auto rickshaw driver. After initial treatment in Manipur, she was shifted to a hospital in Guwahati. Doctors later explained that she suffered extensive internal damage, repeated infections, and long-lasting effects of trauma. The condition steadily worsened over time and eventually proved fatal. A police case was registered months after the incident, and even so, almost 3 years later, no arrest has still been made in this case. Women's organizations have called the long delay not just a failure of justice, but a failure of humanity itself. Now, local organizations and women's groups have expressed deep pain and anger over the girl's death. They held candlelight vigils and moments of silence in several places.
So, what we're going to do right now is we are going to zoom out a little bit. This is happening in India. We are going to check other regions. So, rather, let's just cover this quickly. Kidnapped by the mob 2 years ago, Kuki woman dies in Manipur. She, as said, she died of, it is absolutely horrifying. She died of an illness she got because she could never recover. Deep shock and physical injuries she suffered 2 years ago. She couldn't recover. I still don't know what this is. I can't tell you exactly how she passed away, but I can tell you as much. This was murder. Murder by the men who raped her. Murder by the men who harassed her, sexually assaulted her, walked her. We saw it in the video that she was assaulted while she was made to walk as well. The trauma killed her. She was killed. And this is a direct result of these people never forget. In a conversation with Annie in 2023, she had narrated the horror she suffered at the hands of some men at the Maithi community. She escaped with severe injuries and managed to file a police complaint on July 21st, 2 months since the sexual assault, amid the breakdown in law and order in the state. The Churanchandpur-based Indigenous Tribal Leader Forum, ITLF, in a statement announcing candlelight vigil for Women's Memory, said she was taken to Langol, where she was raped and later abandoned in Bishnuri and left to die. Although she miraculously survived, Suffered severe injuries, deep psychological trauma, and serious uterine complications. She was treated in Guwahati but tragically succumbed to her injuries on the 10th of January 2026. Okay, we are going to move out from here. We are going to zoom out. We are going to first and foremost talk about what has happened in Congo, for example. Now, with the case with Congo, with the case with Sudan, we have seen this multiple times. This is not new. We are going to go through it for people who do not know. There was a massacre in Congo. There was a humanitarian crisis, as they like to call it. This is to give you a picture of how rape is used, especially in times of oppression.
The humanitarian catastrophe in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo has taken a sharp turn for the worse. Renewed fighting between rebel groups and government forces unleashed a new wave of suffering, as an estimated 150,000 people fled their homes at the end of 2012 to avoid the violence. This new wave of displaced persons brings the total number of people forced from their homes in the region to nearly 1 million. Civilians aren't just fleeing to avoid getting caught in crossfire. For years, armed combatants in eastern DRC have systematically targeted civilians by murdering and torching entire villages and recruiting young people into combat by force. The eastern DRC is believed to have one of the highest rates of sexual violence in the world, because combatants in the area routinely use the targeted rape of girls and women as a weapon of war. Girls and women doing routine but vital chores, such as gathering firewood or collecting water, are frequently targeted by armed groups. With the renewed fighting forcing tens of thousands of girls and women out of their homes and into
You can see the similarities over here.
unfamiliar terrain,
What is
CARES
happening
teams
in
on
India
the ground report a
with Dalits, the
significant increase
minorities
in the number
and
of rapes
whatnots,
in the
with
region.
what is happening with the people of Congo, or was.
CARE has long been at work in the area with programs to help prevent violence, sexual and gender-based violence, and to provide survivors with emergency medical assistance, counseling, and kits to prevent the transmission of HIV. CARE has also provided tens of thousands of people displaced by years of conflict with improved temporary shelters, food, clean water, sanitation, and health services. As the security situation allows, CARE will expand our programs to reach more families in the worst affected areas. But we need your help.
This happened in Congo. This is the part 2. Listen to those people.
Christian charity Heal Africa in eastern Congo offers a full slate of services to women who have been sexually assaulted. Surgery to repair rape-torn tissues, psychological and legal counseling, pastoral care, and a workshop that teaches sewing. "16-year-old Santa Mapense was raped 2 years ago and became pregnant with her son Semeni. Because her days are spent caring for her child, she's had to drop out of school. It is her hope that by learning to sew at Heal Africa, she can support herself and her son until she can finish her education."
Masomo tu ilikuwa tu ni bagarso ya mkartie, njo walinitaka tu munjia, alikuwa magharibi biko anituma, njo wakanibaka.
She was just like coming from school, and it was late at night, and it was just a boy from her neighborhood that raped her. That's how she got pregnant. I was back at my home and I was studying. I was a student, but then they raped me and I was pregnant. And when I heard about Heal Africa, and so I came here, and they told me that I could learn how to sew until I could go to school again. She kept saying that she really wants to study, and she's waiting for an opportunity to maybe go back to school. She was 14 when they raped her.
The National Congolese Army harbors some of the worst sexual offenders within its ranks. A recent UN survey estimates these soldiers are responsible for nearly 1/3 of all rapes and sexual violence committed in Congo's far eastern provinces.
In March, the 8th, and the 8th of this March, I will be 1 month here in prison. After committing that rape, I regret it because it was out of my willingness, and I was successively harassed by the girl. That is how I fell in her trap.
Despite strong rape laws and mandatory sentences of up to 20 years, few rapists here are ever punished. Congo's government has turned a blind eye.
This is very similar to India. Congo's government did not punish its rapists. You can make the line of connection. I understand correlation and causation are different. I understand you can't make blind lines, but this is similar because rapists in Congo were let go. The police were looked at as people who did not care, did not register FIRs and whatnots. Rapists were let go by the government as well. You can see the similarities in India.
To the backlog of rape cases in its courts. The police force is poorly trained and undermanned, and judges are known to accept bribes to throw out a case or side with the defendant.
What does this sound like? Who does this sound like? Which country does this sound like?
Even worse, demobilized soldiers and civilian men have begun to force themselves on women and children as the culture of impunity spreads. In eastern Congo, children are turning up in clinics with similar injuries from brutal rapes. Doctors say girls and boys as young as 3 have survived horrific attacks. They dragged.
The point is here, especially, Gaurav says it is a failure of men in society that something so unthinkable like rape has become such a casual thing to say. It is. It is also the issue with governance. The government is allowing this to happen. The government is making laws that don't work, doing things that doesn't work, not doing things like mass education, awareness programs that actually work, and a stronger and more reliant security measures like having better police, etc., etc. It's not doing any of that. It is also the government's responsibility. But the government knows that shit like this, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't say bad words, or we will get banned. I say fuck a lot. Sorry. So when things like this happen, when things like this are pushed forward, these are used as a way to keep control over its people. If you are someone who has been taught to oppress women, you can be taught to oppress people who you don't know. If you're taught to oppress women that you know, that in your house, you can be taught to oppress people you don't know. Second point, when you are using rape as a way of oppression, if you are using it as a way of oppression, it is a tool that can be used to dismantle an entire community. This happened with the what case was it? Hold on. It happened with a case in India with the Bilkis Bano case, and the Muzaffarnagar case, and the Kathua child rape and murder case. These were used, the rapes were used as a way to control the population, to tell people that they do not have the luxury of decency. They do not have the luxury of protection to tell the women that they are not safe. As long as you stay here, you are not safe. Your families are not safe. We will take your children, we'll take your babies even. We will murder them and unalive them because the government wants you to leave. The government will not give you the protection that is necessary for your livelihoods, because it wants you to leave, because it wants you to go away, because you are an eyesore. Rape, as violent as it is, as cruel as it is used as a tool by authoritarian governments to push people. Because men from oppressive communities that oppress, in India, say Brahmins, UCs, higher caste people, are taught to oppress people of lower castes, are taught to oppress women of lower castes through rape. They start by oppressing the women at home. That's why you're taught like, oh, a woman should be this, a woman should be that. Make sure you handle your women at home. The whole love jihad thing. That's why you're taught that there is an acceptable dressing for the women at your home. Once you start doing that, you stop looking at women as people. You stop looking at women as people. You start looking at them as objects. When that is done, then you're told, oh, the women from this community are not good. The women from this community are evil. They are just tools. They are dogs. They are objects. You can do whatever you want with them. And this ends up being a tool that they then use by lowering the police force, by lowering protections, saying that, oh, we can't do anything, the police is corrupt, this is thing, we have lost control, etc., etc. But they have not lost control, because that's what they started to do. To push the minority community out of that region, because who wouldn't want to keep their families safe? Who wouldn't want to keep themselves safe? So they choose to move and never return. The Kathau case was a similar case. That was in 2018. Bonzit is saying also, Yogi government continuously tried to remove charges from rapists where Muslim women are victims. Exactly. That is the point. That is what they did in Congo. That is the same blueprint of India right now.
2 of us into the bush, said a 5-year-old girl, Antoinetta, as she recalled her recent rape in the softest of whispers. He lay on top of me. It hurt. 80% of the children who attend the daily program at a Heal Africa Transit House have been raped, and the remaining 20% of the children are traumatized from witnessing attacks on loved ones. Shelters for orphaned and unwanted children born from rape often hold far more boys than girls. Little boys are commonly thought of as the future generation of fighters who will grow up to turn against those who raised them. The future of Congo remains uncertain. Each new battle between...
Then we have the RSF, the Rapid Strike Force in Sudan. Hold on, where is this? Excuse me, I'm gonna have to read this for you guys. RSF militants have reportedly killed 300 women and raped at least 25 in the first 2 days after the capture of Al-Fashir. According to Sudanese Minister Salam Ishka, who said women had been subjected to sexual assault, violence and torture before being killed by the RSF. Now, RSF is supported by the UAE, just saying. No woman is immune or protected, not even child, the minister added. Recent atrocities have made it's risky to leave Al-Fashir as the roads of the North Darfur, known as the death roads. Like, they're not even trying, like, asking them to leave. So what you're expected to do is, if they want to control a region and you know your region is going to be controlled, you have to get off even before. That is the thing that they're sending. That is the message that they're sending here. Has been a sight of torture, humiliation, and sexual violence against families attempting to flee. Next one is similar. Next one is mass rapes. This is what people have been saying, what the women who have gone through this are saying. Names are pseudonyms given for safety and protection by sources. The rapes were gang rapes, mass rapes in public, rape in front of everyone, and no one could stop it. You would be asleep and they would come and rape you. Amira, the mother of 4. What does it sound like? Sudanese women fleeing Al Fashira recount harrowing scenes of rape, beating, killing, and carried out by RSF militants. They asked if I was a virgin. When I said yes, they took me in their office and raped me before allowing me to continue walking. Salam, 19. They shared their testimonies after fleeing on foot to Tawila, 50 kilometers away, or enduring a 9-day or a 1,500 kilometer trek to Al Dhaba. For 9 days, we didn't eat or drink anything. Here, even toilets cost money. Sometimes I wonder whether we should have stayed under the mortars of shooting, or maybe I should never have left. Mansik, 18. What does this sound like? Does this not sound like India? Does this not sound like what is happening across every northern state right now? Be it Gujarat, be it UP, Bihar, or the Northeast. Does this not sound like that? Burma or Myanmar, military using rape as weapons. This happened in Burma. Just Myanmar. Burma is very Americanized. They call themselves Myanmar. This was released in 2014. I'm gonna say Myanmar when Burma is written. Myanmar's military has continued to use rape as a weapon of war even after nominally civilian government was elected in 2010, a women group said. A Women's League of Myanmar said it had documented more than 100 cases, some involving children as young as 8. Most rapes were carried out in areas where the army was still fighting armed ethnic groups, the organization said. The government in Burma, also known as Myanmar, was using rape was not army policy and cases should be reported. That's what the government of Myanmar said. But it is something that has happened so many times across the world. It is way too... Jesus. Most of the cases were linked to conflicts in the border areas of Kachi and North Shah states. Nearly half the cases were gang rapes. 28 women were killed or die of their injuries, their organization said. Their widespread and systematic nature indicates a structural pattern. Rape is still used as an instrument of war and oppression, the report said. Presidential spokesman Ye Hutut told Reuters news agency that the military did not use rapes as weapons. Obviously, we can be obvious. They're always going to say this when asked. If there are rape cases committed by individual members, we try to expose them, please. They don't. And take effective action against the offenders, he said. President Thein Sein has introduced major reforms since the election on November 2010, which saw military rule replaced by a military-backed civilian government. Military-backed. The last year has seen far-reaching political changes in Myanmar, but the army has so far shown little appetite for change or altering the way it operates, said the BCC John Fisher in Rangoon. A new round of talks has started later this month. Chief ceasefire in Myanmar. That's Myanmar. Raven Kashmir. So this entire thing is a documentation of the Indian government doing the same thing as the military of Myanmar has been doing. For people who want to read it, you can pause at every 5 seconds or every few seconds and read this. For people who want the PDF, it is available on Discord. On YouTube, you can click on the link. On Twitch, you can do iDiscord. You can have it. I do not know if this is blocked in India, but you can find it on Discord. So don't worry about it. This is free to download. There's a good chance it was blocked in India. This is what I say whenever I keep saying the Indian government and the Indian army has also been liable to rape, has also committed the act of rape in Kashmir and in Arunachal Pradesh and multiple regions as a way of oppression. This was even before the Modi government. And I'm not saying it's different now. It is not, clearly. But now this has moved into the tactics used by the Hindutva groups as well. The normalization of rape in India is a conceited effort by the oppressive force of the Hindutva groups to make sure that minority communities and women of even their own community stay oppressed and stay down because they want the power. They do not want these people to speak up. They want to keep them oppressed. That is why this is. Rape is not about sex or sexual desire. It is about operation. Oppression. It is about oppression. Like, I can't say this more because this is the truth. It is about oppression. And I don't care if you agree with me later on, because people come in like saying, oh, we don't agree with this. You're doing like anti-national shit. Sure. If this is your national, I would rather be anti-national. I don't want to live in a country where rape is prevalent. 26 years after, this was written in 2017, 26 years after Kunan Poshpora, army still enjoys immunity for sexual violence. And this is the wire. This is not your like news articles from Pakistan or something. You can believe the wire. These are the words of Kofi Annan from the letter that he submitted to the President of the UN General Assembly, UNGA, in March 2005. He further acknowledged in the letter that measures in place that deal with the problem were manifestly inadequate and demanded a fundamental change in approach. Annan was then the US Secretary General, the highest administrative officer of the organization. His actions led to the tabling of the Prince Zayed report that executed a robust investigation and gave an accountability-based analysis of the sexual violence perpetrated by peacekeeping troops that were operating with impunity granted to them by the UN itself. Since the report's submission, the UN has taken several administrative measures to hold defaulting troops accountable. It has been 26 years since 4 personnel of the Rajputana Rifles allegedly raped at least 23 women in Kashmir's twin village of Kunan and Poshpora. It was supposed to be a cordon and search operation to trace militants, but turned out to be a blackest of nights for Kashmir's violence-ridden history, as per a 2012 Jammu Kashmir State Human Rights Commission (JNK) SHRC report. The men in the villages were first ordered to come out of their houses and taken into separate location. Then members of security forces who had turned into beasts forcefully entered these houses and gagged the mouths of the victims, committed forced gang rapes against their will and consent. Even minor girls as young as 8 years old were not spared. 8 years old. Where have we seen this before? Congo and Sudan. I have more examples of this across the world as well. A recently published book, do you remember Kunan Poshpora? Extensively documents aspects related to the incident. In the book, amongst many gory accounts, one of the survivors shares a story. 3 army men caught hold of me. 8 and 10 army men raped me in turns. They had huge battery torches with them and they used them to see my naked body while making lewd remarks. Should I read more? Many independent investigations and fact-finding missions, including the one led by the former Chief Justice of Jammu Kashmir High Court, Justice Bahuddin Farooqi, has concluded that the Kuna Pochpora case has seen unprecedented proportions of ignorance with regards to normal investigative procedures that may be followed after such a crime. In 2014, as a jolt of the Indian government, the divisional bench of the High Court, comprising of M.M. Kumar and Justice Haseen Masoodi, took up the SHRC report and decreed the government should explore the possibilities of payment compensation within 3 weeks. This was the first time that the members of the higher judiciary acknowledged that the heinous crimes did indeed take place, as until then, reports of gang rape had been considered terrorist propaganda. It is not. It is true. We have seen it multiple times. Since then, there have been 2 petitions in the Supreme Court against the High Court order, one by the supposed pro-people state government and the another by the Indian Army. A stay on the High Court's order has already been obtained, and as of now, we do not know how long the case will go on. 26 years, justice is already denied. 6 of the victims of the alleged crimes have died. Lest the horrors of history repeat. What do we remember? What has happened right now with the case in Manipur? Lest the horrors of history repeat, the struggle for justice continues. What do you think this is? Do you not see a pattern here? Moving on. Amnesty International's India public statement. Police must effectively investigate long-standing rape allegations against Indian Army in Jammu Kashmir, which we just read that they did not. If you want more proof that people have been saying this multiple times and nothing has happened, all of this available in Discord. Don't forget to like and share the stream. Thank you. 27 years after mass rape in Kashmir, Indian judiciary has failed survivors. Women continue to fight. Interview with Natasha Rathod, one of the authors of Do You Remember Kuna Pochpora? All of this to read, available on the Discord. Go and check. Go and check. It's a lot, and it is a lot to even read, least to discuss this. The Indian Army has been doing this. Do not get me wrong. They were responsible. Supreme Justices of India have acknowledged this. This is not false. Assam records highest cases of sexual violence by armed forces in 20 years. This is in 2020, as recent as 2020. Why do you think this is? This is because it's a conceited effort to oppress a group. The list prepared by the National Campaign Against Torture, NCAT, mentions cases of rape, molestation, and other forms of sexual violence recording between November 1, 2000 to October 30, 2020, in 11 states affected by armed conflicts. Assam tops the list of sexual violence against women by Central Armed Forces in the past 20 years, says a compilation of cases by the Platform of NGOs Against Torture. The list prepared by the National Campaign Against Torture, NCAT, mentions 114 cases of rape and molestation and other forms of sexual violence recorded between November 1, 2000 to November 30, 2020. These are the people who are supposed to protect us. In 11 states across the country affected by armed conflicts. That's nearly every state. Besides Assam, other states include the list are Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jammu and Kashmir, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Manipur, Meghalaya, Odisha, and Tripura. Assam recorded 21 cases of sexual violence, followed by Manipur 18, Chhattisgarh 17, Jammu Kashmir 16, Tripura 14, Jharkhand 7, Meghalaya 6, Arunachal Pradesh 6, Odisha 5, Andhra Pradesh 3, and Maharashtra 1. A total of 224 females were victimized in 114 cases, with the highest number reported in Chhattisgarh, from Chhattisgarh 92, followed by Assam 26, Manipur 21, Jammu Kashmir in 20. The list included 42 cases of rape, 6 murders, 3 cases of rape of pregnant women, 4 cases of rape of differently abled. For people who do not know, differently able is now the term that is used for people with a disability. Okay, I just side tangent. Saying differently abled is not a very nice thing. It is pink washing being disabled. I say that as someone who has a mental disability himself. 3 cases of being shot dead for resisting molestation and rape. Attempt to rape, stripping, molestation, and among others. A total of 74 of the total victims were in the age group of 7 to 17 years, and 156 or 69.6% of the victims were tribal women and girls. This number is important. This is where we are going to move forward. This is important because what we need to talk about here is the statement that we saw earlier by this person here, this absolute piece of shit. This is a justification. This is a normalization of it. This is why I say, just because you're from the Congress, just because you are from like AAP, or just because of whatever party there is, if you have people like this on your list, you are no better than the BJP.
मेरी बहन बेटी, इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा रेप किसके होते हैं? शेड्यूल कास्ट, शेड्यूल ट्राइब और मोस्ट ओबीसी होते हैं. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब है, रेप की थ्योरी ये है कि कोई भी कैसी भी दिमाग का आदमी रास्ते में जा रहा है, उसे खूबसूरत अगर लड़की दिखी, सुंदर, अति सुंदर, तो उसका ब्रेन है वो इधर वो विचलित हो सकता है, तो रेप हो सकता है. आदिवासी में कौन सी अति सुंदर स्त्री है? एससी की कौन सी अति सुंदर स्त्री है? मोस्ट ओबीसी.
This is called sanitization of rape. Sanitization of rape means that they are whitewashing it. They are trying to make it so, if you are not beautiful, you're not going to be raped. Forgetting, or rather, willfully ignoring for a very specific reason of making sure you can use it for oppression, that they're trying to make it as you'll be fine, you won't be raped if you are looking bad, or if you're looking like let's say more Hinduvadi. It does 2 things. It makes everyone who's not a Hindu the other, and it makes the women in your life oppressed by the statement of, or a threat of being raped if they try to do anything else other than what is mandated by the Manusmriti. This is a problem.
ऐसी स्त्रियां सुंदरियां क्यों होता बलात्कार? उनके धर्म ग्रंथों में इस तरह की निर्देश दिए गए.
हिंदू धर्म ग्रंथों में,
हाँ, उनके ग्रंथों में. अब हिंदू है कि नहीं है, मैं उनके ऊपर मुझे कुछ नहीं कहना, उनके ग्रंथों में.
The fucking piece of shit this
तो
man
मेरा
is.
कहने का तात्पर्य ये है,
Don't you want to listen to him?
कि जब व्यक्ति ये काम करेगा,
He's saying that in front of a picture of Ambedkar.
चांडाली
Jesus
तू
fucking
स्वयं
Christ.
काशी, प्रयाग चरमकारिणी, अयोध्या पुक्षी प्रोक्ता, रजकी मथुरा मता.
Don't even fucking understand what he's saying.
चमारिन, चांडाल एक बिरादरी है.
Yeah, that's it.
11.
Just to counter his own point,
in India, rapists are more likely to attack women from the Dalit community than from any other caste group. A 10-year-old girl was raped 2 years ago by a man from an upper caste. DW's correspondent Shalu Yadav reports on the family's fight for justice from Kanpur in northern India, and a warning that you might find their account distressing.
It was a cold evening when a 10-year-old girl was on her way home after collecting firewood from the fields in her village. On a path like this one, a 26-year-old...
I would like you to think about how similar these stories sound to everything that you have heard before.
old man grabbed her. He raped her so violently, she ended up in a hospital. 2 years on, her memory of battling death is a blur, but flashbacks of the attack still haunt her. Too afraid to go out alone, she rarely leaves home apart from to go to school.
It really bothers me to think about the shame this incident has brought upon our family. I have nightmares. I wonder why this happened to me.
She may be too young to understand the reason, but her mother seethes in anger as she spells it out.
The accused targeted my daughter because we are Dalits. He dared to do it because he's from the upper caste. We must stay in our place, as our status in the society is the lowest. He could have killed our daughter had we not heard of what was happening in time.
The family had to leave their village. Pressure from the upper caste community, who defended the rapist and blamed the girl, became unbearable.
Being a woman in India is hard. Being a Dalit woman is worse. The community is at the bottom of the rigid caste system that called them the untouchables. Upper caste men often use rape as a weapon of oppression against Dalit women. Protests are often held in the wake of rape cases, but there's hardly any outrage when the victim is a Dalit.
Sana Bano is studying to be a lawyer and volunteers to help Dalit victims with legal advice. She says her work is dangerous.
People from the upper caste call me and intimidate me. They remind me that I am a single woman and I should think about my safety. In some cases, they even follow us to intimidate us.
Manjula is a human rights activist in Ahmedabad. She says the 10 rapes of Dalit women and girls that are reported each day is far from the full picture, and most don't have anyone to help.
I think what is reported is just 25%. The 75% is still not reported. Underreporting is a major issue, and non-reporting itself. So only 25% cases are being reported because the Dalit women are not aware about their rights. And how will they go to the police station? Who is there to help them? Who tells them that when you are raped, you don't have to wash your private part and you don't have to throw away your clothes because those are your evidence.
Manjula knows what she's talking about. She's a Dalit and a rape survivor. She says caste and gender work together against Dalit women.
They live with that fear that if I assert my rights, I would be killed or I would be raped or I have to leave my village. And this is happening. It's happening across the country.
She's only 12. But this rape survivor has already learned what it means to be a Dalit woman.
I don't think it's possible to get justice, but we will try. Those who try never fail.
I'm joined now by Vrinda Grover, a Supreme Court lawyer in India and a women's rights activist. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It is really devastating to hear that after everything that has happened to this girl, she does not think she'll get justice. What conditions exist that make that so difficult?
So when it comes to sexual violence or other forms of violence against Dalit women, the impunity is absolute and it is endemic. As has been very accurately reported by in your report just now, what did we hear? This young minor girl has been raped. She is in trauma. The family has been compelled to leave the village. So we are already talking of a family that is economically subordinate, that is socially marginalized, which are all functions of caste. And then the state does not step in. There are laws in place. There is a special law against atrocities against scheduled castes. Who will implement the law? Where is the police? Where are all those who are supposed to provide that scaffolding of protection, both to the victim, to the witness, to enable them to navigate the legal machinery? What we see is that casteism is actually seeped through and through all institutional mechanisms. So the legal scaffolding by itself is not going to provide the answers. And that is the function that we are seeing today. And that is why there is an impunity for any man walking to pick up a Dalit girl, a Dalit woman, and to sexually assault her with impunity, knowing that she will not be able to. access the legal system until and unless there are activists, there are lawyers who will step in, because the state is not performing that role.
So just so I understand correctly, are the existing legal protections enough, and this is just an issue of willpower of the state not stepping in, or does the law need to go further in providing protections against caste-based sexual violence?
I think the statutory regime that we have in India is actually fairly sound today. We have a special law called the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act, which was amended in 2015 to bring in special atrocities against women, including sexual harassment, sexual assault. The law provides for mechanisms that there will be a senior police officer who will investigate these cases. There will be a special public prosecutor. The victims and witnesses will be provided protection, including taking them to the court. But what is to be done with the institutional bias that exists from the police station to the courtroom? When threats are given, when they are intimidated, if those in positions of authority do not intervene and do not step in, none of these laws can do anything. So in my view, the legal regime is in place, but because of the existence of caste patriarchy, because of casteism, and also because of the continuing economic and social marginalization of Dalits, they are unable to access the legal system.
So how do you go about addressing this bias? Are there any positive examples where we've seen progress?
I would not be able to actually come up with an example at all. What I can say is that we see that this bias is very deeply embedded in across Indian society.
It's endemic. What she means, it's endemic because rape is still used as an offense of oppression. It is a crime of oppression. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
So when there is training done of the police, when there is orientation and selection done of judicial officers, when there is training done of public prosecutors, it's not just about the law. There will have to be an orientation and an acknowledgement that casteism is part of the way in which life is being led in India. Today, there is a greater denial that no, caste is something that used to take place in earlier times. That is not true. This violence is a manifestation of that casteism. And therefore, it's important to acknowledge in order to deal with it. Secondly, again, the law is in place that if any police officer acts with impunity, does not provide protection, etc., they are to be held accountable. Nobody is being held accountable. Without accountability, how does impunity end? How does deterrence get created?
So how...
Remember, when with respect to the Manipur case, the FIR was not registered for what? 24 whatever something hours. It wasn't registered immediately, or 14 hours if I remember correctly. It was registered after the pushback by the media, not because they wanted to register it against the majority community.
Do you help Dalit women get access to the legal services that they need in order to
change India? That is the easier answer.
Hold offenders to account.
I think presently the way our system is working, I think there needs to be a regular monitoring and evaluation, where you heard, say, someone like Manjula Pradeep, who engages with this extensively. There needs to be an annual report. The court needs to ask for an annual report that what has happened in this district, what has happened in this state, what cases came to the police station, where were the gaps, where was the attrition, why did the woman not complete the legal process, who were the officers in charge at that time. All these are details that will have to be gone into. There will be monitoring and evaluation and audit of the law. The law needs to be audited to see, does it deliver justice, or is it just written in the statute book?
Thank you so much for joining us today to share your insights. That is lawyer and activist Vrinda Grover.
Hold on. I think I'm missing a message. Bonzit, did you write something? Yeah, your message isn't showing, my friend. It's showing in the logs, it's not showing in the messages. I suppose. Something. Whatever. The next part that we are going into is every single instance of rape that has been used in India for oppression of minorities. And obviously, we have to start with the Gujarat riots.
Several weeks of intense religious violence that resulted in the death of as many as 2,000 people. And at the centre of the controversy, even over 20 years later, the current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. It began in February 2002 when 59 Hindu nationalist pilgrims, many women and children, were burnt to death on a train. Whoever was responsible, Hindu fundamentalists quickly accused the country's Muslim minority of being to blame. It sparked the worst religious riots the country has seen since its independence. Entire neighbourhoods were destroyed, families murdered, women and children raped. Narendra Modi was a key figure. He was Chief Minister of the state of Gujarat at the time, accused by many of doing nothing, even encouraging the violence. That's something he has always denied. Indeed, in 2012, a special investigation team appointed by the Supreme Court cleared him of complicity in the riots. There have been...
He was cleared after he won the election.
A number of inquiries, reports and court cases, each accused of being biased by those unhappy with the conclusions and results. Was the fire the result of a Muslim conspiracy? Was it just an accident? Was the resulting violence premeditated by Hindu extremists? Why were the police unable or unwilling to stop it? The issue remains traumatic, right in the forefront of the minds of many. Leah Delfolly and Cancer Unit revisit Gujarat for France 24.
I remember everything. I used to sit here and pray during the month of Muharram. I used to read the Quran for 40 days.
It has been years since Zakia Jafri last visited her home in Gulberg Society, a residential complex located in Ahmedabad, in the western Indian state of Gujarat. On February 28, 2000.
Let's not forget mass rapes were used in Gujarat riots, Gujarat massacres, to oppress the Muslims. There's a reason why they haven't been able to come back. There's a reason why Zoran Mamdani always terms Modi as the butcher of Gujarat. Because he is. This oppression came in the form of assaults. This oppression primarily came in form of sexual violence against the women, the Muslim women of Gujarat.
2002, a mob of Hindu extremists attacked this Muslim-majority neighborhood.
At the time when the assailants started to arrive, they threw stones. Then all the inhabitants in the neighborhood hid in our house. People shouted, Allah, Allah. Then my husband told me to go and hide upstairs. I stood on the balcony and from there I watched. They dragged him and tortured him. They cut his hand and tortured him and then set fire to the house. I was watching it all.
Zakia Jafri survived the violence. However, her husband, Ehsan Jafri, a former member of parliament for the Congress party, was brutally murdered that day, along with 69 other people. Half of the bodies were never...
He was from Congress, by the way. That's what they're saying, if you couldn't hear. The Congress party does not blame the BJP or Modi, for that matter, for what happened in Gujarat.
never recovered. At the Gulberg Society, there's another miraculous survivor, Rafiq Mansoori.
This is my wife standing next to me. This is my son on my mother's lap. He was 5 months old. The whole family was killed.
Rafiq's 5-month-old son, his wife, and all the other 19 family members were burnt alive by the rioters. His family sought refuge in Ehsan Jafri's
Murderers. Hindutva murderers and terrorists. This is called terrorism.
house when the violence erupted.
Mr. Jaffrey came out and told the crowd, "You can kill me, but please spare the children and women." But the rioters did not listen. To save us, Mr. Jaffrey called Modi, all the leaders, all the ministers. You can check his call record.
22 years after the massacre, the neighborhood is still desolate and abandoned. Nature has reclaimed its rights, and the charred buildings remain the silent witness to the violence. Rafiq, along with his son Atif, born after the riots, and father Qasim, decided to stay in Gulberg. Once home to around 100 residents, they are now the sole inhabitants here. Despite their losses, the family received a mere 22,000 euros in compensation.
Even if someone offers me 1 billion euros, I'd refuse to leave this place. What would I do with that money when my whole family's gone? This place reminds me of my children. I'll never leave here. I didn't inherit this property from my grandparents to sell it to someone else. I'm going to live here. This government does nothing but divide people along religious lines.
Victims of the riots only received justice in 2016, when a special court sentenced 24 people to prison. However, dozens of others were acquitted, including members of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party, the BJP. Rafiq takes us to Naroda Patia, just 5 kilometers away from Gulberg, another Muslim neighborhood that was targeted and where nearly 100 people were murdered. Salim was 28 years old when several members of his family were killed in the attack carried out by over 5,000 Hindu extremists.
We witnessed the biggest riots in Gujarat. I can't even begin to talk about how they killed women and children. They took advantage of this to promote their party. They became heroes of Hindutva, that is to say Hindu nationalism, and promoted the party all over India.
Hear that again. Hear that again. They used rape and murder to promote their party, to promote Hindutva, to promote Sanghism. That is where we are. That is where we are.
He is convinced that the 2002 pogrom helped Narendra Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat, to climb the political ladder using the rift between Hindus and Muslims.
It wasn't even that it helped him climb the ladder. It decimated the ladder once he was up. Muslim population went down severely. Muslims moved out because they had to, because of the horrific rape and murder of people over there. No wonder this is used politically, because for them this is profitable. These are profits. They can still remain in power. Modi has yet to see a year when he is not in power.
February the 27th, 2002, nobody knew Modi in Gujarat. Modi
You can check out Babu Bajrangi's confession in this. Can you send it to me?
became the hero of some Hindu organizations after the riots. These organizations led the riots, but Modi helped them get bail. He didn't punish them.
This was not the first time. Bilkis Banno wasn't the first time. The Sengar case wasn't the first time. Even this wasn't. They have been using rape and murder throughout their entire political career to oppress minorities. That is what the RSS does. That is what the BJP does. Do not feel like or even believe anything other than this.
He got their cases thrown out and became a hero for them.
This has happened before.
Long suspected of instructing the police not to intervene and to allow atrocities against Muslims to continue. In 2012, Narendra Modi was cleared of complicity in the Gujarat riots case by the Supreme Court. He even won Gujarat elections 3 times in a row between 2002 and 2012 before becoming Prime Minister of India in 2014. Among the hundreds of people accused of orchestrating the 2002 massacres, across the state, many were affiliated with the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, an extremist right-wing party founded on the idea of Hindu nationalism.
I'm proud of this photo. I'm also proud of Mr. Modi because I know him and he knows me. He has worked in Gujarat. We believe that India should be respected by the whole world.
By the way, just to cut in, it is not. Also, my dear mod, without whom this entire thing would be pointless and not working, send us this video. Please have a look.
नरोड़ा और नोड़ा पार्टी है। नरोड़ा गांव है और आधा किलोमीटर का डिस्टेंस है नरोड़ा और नोड़ा गांव में। तो दोनों में हमें खूब कुछ संख्या कम।
This is Baba Bajrangi. This is a confession after the Gujarat 2002 massacre.
कम से कम वहाँ नहीं काटा होगा ना सब नरोड़ा और नोड़ा पार्टी। फिर उन लोगों ने लाशें उठा के फेंक दिया। कुआं एक था, कुआं में डाल के तरफ दिया। सबके पहले तो मैं इनसे बात ही नहीं कर रहा था। पहली बार मेरे को मिले ना तब तो मैं बोला ये कहीं हमारे वहाँ बहुत पत्रकार और ऐसे तैसे आदमी आते हैं तो मेरे को पूछते कि आप पाटियाखान में बोला मैं पाटियाखान था ही नहीं मैं तो बहुत दूर एक हॉस्पिटल में दाखिल
They were clinging to each other in a pit. Then we threw oil and burning tires and killed them.
उनके ही थे ना सब ये घर में घुसे तो यहाँ से सिलेंडर लिया और हमारी धड़ा फूटे ट्यूबवेल तो थी हमारे पास उस टाइम तो
Yeah, I'm not doing this. This is too cruel. Guys, if you want to watch it later.
And he's working for that. That's what I admire.
पूरे विश्व के अंदर उसका सम्मान मिले इसके बाद में
Jaideep Patel was the General Secretary of the VHP at that time. This is the first time he has agreed to give an interview to a news channel since then. 22 years later, he still accuses Muslims of being behind the train fire that killed Hindu pilgrims and sparked the pogrom, despite various investigations suggesting the possibility of an accidental fire.
Those in Godhra who say it was an accident, no, it wasn't an accident. It was well planned. Politicians and leaders who were against Hindus came up with this theory that it was an accident. They want to.
In this clip, he explains how he cut off a fetus. I know, I remembered. I don't want to. I have to take care of even my brain. Again, we have to be very careful on what we exactly say here.
Jews in danger and defend Muslims.
I do not want to end up saying something that gets us banned.
That's what some political leaders and parties do.
This is a lot about like
this is how they
understand
think
where
and
this
act.
is going.
In 2009, Jaideep Patel was convicted of murder and of planning the attack in Naroda, hours after the train fire.
They accused me of being here and causing riots in Naroda village, but I wasn't here. Many people tried to implicate me. There was a conspiracy to implicate me because I was doing Hindutva work.
Patel was eventually acquitted in 2023. However, he never ceased his activities within the VHP. We follow him to the village of Pimpuri in southern Gujarat.
सूर्य नारायण देव की जय, गौ माता की जय, गंगा माता की जय.
Here, he is leading a religious ceremony performed before the beginning of any construction work. In this case, for the school financed by his organization.
भारत माता की जय, रामचंद्र भगवान की जय.
But behind this social program lies an attempt at religious indoctrination. This region is inhabited by tribal populations, and most of them do not follow Hinduism.
We pray before eating the food, and in the evening.
Yeah, I understand. Modi did. We have later coming in a proof as well. Like Modi has saved a lot of rapists.
Two, we remember God. Our motive is education.
We literally have like Al Jazeera and like we have to go through a lot. Like we have like where's this? Hold on. India's Prime Minister government okayed rapist release. Shit like this. Coming up, don't worry.
And culture. We work according to the Hindu culture. And in doing so, society should achieve its highest level of success, even for the children of the tribal people.
Jaideep Patel says he wants to provide education to poor people residing in the remote areas of Gujarat. However, from adolescence onwards, children must follow the teachings of Hindu fundamentalism.
We're taught that you can't marry a Muslim. A Hindu can marry a Hindu, and a Muslim can marry a Muslim.
This had happened under Vajpayee government. He had an image like saints Delulu is strong with these people. Exactly. Oh, I read that as a single. Guys, sorry, my chat is combined. You can see the combined chat here, lol. This happened under Vajpayee government, but he had image like saints. Exactly. Vajpayee wasn't a saint himself.
In my
he
old
was
school,
just Modi, just weaker.
There was much more emphasis on education than religion. We used to focus on education, but now we're taught religion.
An apparent attempt to convert members of the tribal community under the guise of development and education. Jaideep strongly advocates for the spread of Hinduism, fearing that this majority religion is threatened by Christianity and Islam.
Religious conversions are taking place. Some people
They are
want
not.
separatism
These
in the
guys are
country.
doing religious conversions, by the way.
They have separatist tendencies, and after separatism, they promote anti-nationalist values. Whoever carries out religious conversions, we will never allow them to achieve this.
Vajpayee saved Modi by giving in to the pressure by Advani. If Vajpayee had done his job in India, would have been better off. Yes, but Vajpayee was never going to do it because Vajpayee himself was a RSS Sanghi. Like Vajpayee is honestly, I would argue he's as bad as Modi himself, but he wasn't. Like his comparison to Modi, everyone is just like lallu pallu. In terms of being genocidal, sexist, promoting, and all of that sort of stuff. Just general fascist stuff. Vajpayee still wasn't a fascist, even though he had tendencies, I would argue. But Vajpayee did save Modi, and Modi was the reason Vajpayee lost power.
While several Hindu extremists, including Jaideep Patel, were ultimately exonerated, the quest for justice for Muslims.
You're not saying Vajpayee was good, but it recorded is he wanted to take action on Modi. Yeah, I mean, everyone keeps saying that. Like it's going to be recorded later that the Democrats wanted to take action on Trump with Epstein files. See, Advani literally was such a fucking I wanna say cuck. I wanna say cuck. Sorry, my bad. I want to say cuck because like look at like the situation with Advani here. Advani protects Modi. Advani protects Modi's everything with respect to protecting him during the Godhra riot investigation, the massacres investigation. He's the one who started this entire Babri Masjid thing. He did a lot. And like last minute, he was kicked out because Modi brought in a law that you can't be in the BJP after the age of 70 to 75. And then he wasn't even invited to the Ayodhya thing. Like, they finally, like, quote unquote, won. And he was the one who started it, wasn't invited. I mean, this is what is going to happen with every single RSS person anyway. They're going to be cucked out by the person who wants to do fascism. Advani was an a-hole. He instigated terror act, Rath Yatra. Yes, he did. Yes, he was. Agreed. I agree. But he's also a cuck.
Victims has been extremely difficult. Among the most notable cases is that of Bilkis Bano. In New Delhi, Subhashini Ali, a member of the Communist Party, filed a petition in support of Bilkis Bano. She was 5 months pregnant when she was gang raped by 11 of her Hindu neighbors during the riots. In a controversial decision by the Gujarat High Court...
See, remember earlier we were talking about why don't, like, Bonzi was saying that he doesn't even know if his friends were what caste or religion. This is what they do. They instigate you into their ideology without talking about your friends, and then a neighbor, 5 neighbors rape a woman just because she's Muslim. You, like, for them to instigate you into this ideology to go and act in this way, you need to be instigated, indoctrinated before, without having it reflect on your personal life before. And then when things go sideways, it reflects immediately. They want to create a situation where you cannot trust your neighbors.
They were given early release.
Rape victims have always faced a lot of difficulties. That is not something that is unusual. What is unusual is that after the BJP has come to power, the first thing is that they protect their own supporters and their own members.
This is called creating permissibility for rapists and oppressors. We covered it during, we were talking about Sengar earlier. Earlier in the earlier live. During that, we talked about this. This creates permissibility for the rapists and rape to be used as a tool for oppression. That's why they support rapists.
To the hilt. Perpetrators are Hindus and the victim is a Muslim, as in the case of the Bilkis Bano case, then that also becomes very obvious that that is the kind of approach they will have, that it will be the perpetrators who are protected, not the victim.
Back in Ahmedabad, we meet Zakia Jafri. She now lives with her daughter Nishreen, 10 kilometers away from Gulberg Society.
ये कब्बा है? हाँ, ये इधर रखा है फोटो, ये देखो.
Your son looks so much like him.
I took this picture. This was in 2001. I love this picture.
Don't cry now.
And that's my Abba, मुसलमान member of parliament. न कभी उसके बाद में कोई member of parliament मुसलमान यहाँ से चुनकर गया, न उसके पहले कभी कोई था. उनको लोग इतना जानते थे, इतना पसंद करते थे.
85 years old Zakia Jafri is still determined to fight for the conviction of India's current Prime Minister for his alleged complicity in the 2002 Gujarat riots.
We're still fighting. Whenever there is a hearing at court, I go along with my son. As long as I'm alive, I'll fight.
इतने कोर्ट के चक्कर लगाए कि अभी वो अगर देखते कि अम्मी उनके लिए कितना लड़ रहे हैं, तो वो सोचते कि देखो ज़किया मेरे लिए कितना कोर्ट में गई है.
In June 2022,
Rana Ayub Gujarat Files is a good book from 2002 pogrom context. Yes, it is. Have a read.
the Supreme Court rejected the initial
If you can, post a link on Discord. All of the books would be available on Discord.
plea to reopen the case and investigate Narendra Modi's alleged role in the violence.
In terms of the Bilkis Banno case, we saw this live happen. Bilkis Banno rape case, released convicts greeted with garlands by the VHP office. 11 convicts of the Bilkis Banno rape case released from jail under the Gujarat government's remission policy were greeted with garlands at the Vishwa Hindu Parishad office. The 11 accused, Radhesham Shah, Jaswant Chaturbhai Naik, Keshubhai Wadania, Bakabhai Wadania, Rajibhai Soni, Rameshbhai Chauhan, Shaileshbhai Bhatt, Bibin Chandra Joshi, Govindbhai Nai, Mitesh Bhatt, Pradeep Modhiya walked out of a jail on Monday. This happened in 2022. We were there. We were all there, and we saw this happen. A special CBI court in Mumbai on January 21, 2008 sentenced the 11 accused to life imprisonment on the charge of gang rape. They were released, and if I am not wrong, they changed the law to release them. If I am not wrong, because they changed the law for Ram Rahim, they changed the law for Sengar. These convicted have been served more than 15 years in jail, after which one of them approached the Supreme Court with a plea for his premature release. The apex court had directed the Gujarat government to look into the issue of remission of his sentence, following which the government formed a committee, said the Panch Mahal's collector Sujal Mayatra, who headed the panel. Bilkis Banno, India's Prime Minister Modi's government okayed rapist release. This is coming from the government. The government of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi approved the premature release of 11 men. We saw it earlier with the woman who stated, without a doubt, that she stated that the government protects its supporters who are especially rapists, because rape is again and again used as a way to oppress. Giving permissibility to people who rape is a way of oppressing the minorities. It is a way of oppressing women. Rape is not about sex. It's about oppression. This is not about havas. Havas is not something that is even tangentially related to why someone would rape someone. One of the first reasons rape happens is because of a sense of superiority, a sense of inferiority complex within the world, and a means of oppressing a group of people that you deem are not worth the life that they are given, who you deem as objects. Rape is about operation. None of these things come under, clip that if you like it. I will post it later. None of these things comes to light in 2014. Everyone just screaming, we want an upper caste government. What? Everyone screaming, we want an upper caste. Yes. I don't understand, Bonzit, what you were saying. The convicts were part of the Hindu mob that attacked Bilkis Banno and her family during the 2002 anti-Muslim riots in the western state of Gujarat. The release of men who were serving life sentence for rape and murder and got a hero's welcome. They were accorded had caused global outrage. Many of these, especially aghast as the convicts were walked free on 15th August, the day of India was celebrating the Independence Day, and just hours after Mr. Modi had given a speech asking citizens to respect women. A viral video showed these men lined up outside of Godhra jail while relatives gave them sweets, touched their feet to show respect. State officials at the time said the government panel had approved the application for remission, as the men first convicted by trial court in 2008 had spent more than 14 years in jail, and after considering other factors such as their age, good behavior in prison. And on Monday, the Gujarat government submitted a document in the Supreme Court revealing that they had sought the federal government's approval, which was granted by the Home Ministry led by Amit Shah on July. Approval had come despite the opposition from court and federal prosecutors, who had said they should not be released prematurely and no leniency may be shown to them as their crimes were heinous, grave and serious. These are gang rapists who killed people, and the only reason Bilkis Bano was alive to even fight this case was because they thought she was dead. The top court is hearing several petitions alleging the convict's release. Days after her attackers were freed, Bilkis Bano issued a statement calling the decision to free the men unjust and said it has shaken her faith in justice. When I heard that the convicts who had devastated my family and life was walked free, I was bereft of words, and I'm still numb, she said. How can a justice for a woman end like this? And we have seen this multiple times. Senghor comes to mind. Senghor was released for what? Senghor was released so he can help the BJP in elections. The case is on stay. Like, the notice he was given is still on stay. I don't think we have an update as of yet. We covered it before, that Senghor was released because the government needed him to win an election and to show his followers, Modi's followers, that rape is permissible and the government will protect you. Even if you go to jail, you will get bail immediately. More than 6,000 activists, historians and citizens issued a statement urging the Supreme Court to revoke the earlier release of the convicts, describing it as a grave miscarriage of justice. Biggest setback state government has been the biggest setback from the state government's decision has been for Bilkis Bano and her family. The anger response of the family is okay. Yeah, we read all of this. Next thing. This is a commentary thing. How Hindu mobs use rape as a weapon against women such as Bilkis Bano during Gujarat. We are going to read the whole thing. Tighten your seatbelt, guys. On 4th May 2017, the Bombay High Court upheld a session court decision convicting 11 men of committing gang rape. Again, the conviction of these men came in 2017. No, they upheld it. They came after, 7-8 years or something. Referred to as the Bilkis Bano and the murder of 14 members of her family during the Gujarat riots of 2002. The session court had sentenced the convicts to life imprisonment, which the court upheld, and then they were set free in 2002, and then they went back to jail because everyone was screaming. If no one was screaming. So this is why I keep saying we need to start protesting, we need to get out, we need to talk more, we need to speak out loud, is because they released the rapists out for good behavior and being like sanskari people, sanskari rapists, to be clear. People were mad. That's why they were sent back to prison. This is what I'm saying. Protesting works. Going out and speaking your mind works. This is a case of that. In Splintered Justice Living, the horrors of mass communal violence in Bhogalpur and Gujarat, Varsha Farsad, a lawyer practicing in Delhi, and Preeta Jha, a legal activist and researcher based in Ahmedabad, closely examined the state's accountability of 2 instances of mass communal violence. Farsad writes on the carnage in Bhagalpur district in Bihar in 1989 and Jha on the riots in Gujarat in 2002. In the following extract from the book, Jha recounts how the Hindu mobs attacking Muslim neighborhoods used rape as a weapon against women, including the Hindu women they believed were guilty of associating with Muslims. If you are someone who thinks that Hindu women will be safe in this, they will not be. This has happened multiple times before. The struggles of Gujarat's rape survivors were not and still are not limited to the courts of law. Jha writes, these women had also fight for their dignity in their own communities. Widespread evidence of sexual violence is found in several reports brought out by the civil society and the concerned citizens group, but gathered by CES, the Center of Equality Studies, through RTI queries, suggested that few rapes are reported and even fewer registered by the police, because the police was in on it, because they were told not to do anything. We have seen this multiple times happening. Police will not report a case until there is public pressure. This is the state that we live in. That is the problem. That is the state women of this country live in, where even if they are raped, even if the worst thing possible happens to them, their case isn't even registered by the police because the government is trying to create permissibility for such actions. Do not forget. The fact that impunity for perpetrators was the order of the day in Gujarat in 2002 would have further persuaded the victims to not approach the police, in whom the Muslims had little, if any, confidence. Bilkis Bano was one of the few rape survivors who came forward. She waged a historic battle to get justice and remarkably secured the first conviction ever for rape during communal violence in independent India. First. See how long it has been used. It is well known that women have often been sexually brutalized during communal riots in order to humiliate and demoralize their men. When she went to report her ordeal at the first instance, she was confronted with a shameful system of impunity put in place to protect the perpetrators of the 2002 carnage. The police simply refused to register an FIR with the names of the accused, and even threatened to inject Bilkis with poison if she insisted on including the rape charges in the FIR. Then they repeatedly tried to scuttle the investigation and close the case, but she managed to defeat all the attempts. The case was transferred to the Gujarat CID. It only got worse from there on, as she felt insecure and harassed by very agency charged with protecting her and prosecuting her rapists under Modi. You really think Modi had no idea about this? Bilkis, however, was lucky to get financial and legal and moral support of a respected NGO, the Center of Social Justice. This is why you need to organize, because organization will help. And National Human Rights Commission, their support enabled her to move to Supreme Court, where she successfully applied to have the investigation transferred to the CBI and for the trial to be held outside Gujarat. Eventually, a conviction was secured despite the police and first investigation team's efforts, as proven in court, to protect the rapists. Read that again. The conviction was made possible in large parts by the meticulous investigation by the CBI as well as the fair trial conducted in Mumbai. The rioters of 2002 did not limit their acts of depravity to Muslims. They targeted even fellow Hindus who had had any association with Muslims. Gauri was in love with a Muslim man and was living with him when the violence began. When the Hindu mob attacked her village, Gauri said she persuaded her partner to leave the house and hide in the fields. Believing that she was a Hindu, the rioters and co-religionists would not harm her if only. Gauri was gang raped by 7 Hindu rioters in front of 30 fellow villagers, none of whom even tried to help her. Her ordeal was also witnessed by her minor daughter, who later testified in court, the only eyewitness to depose, even though her mother had been gang raped in full public view. Going through the trial process was traumatic, Gauri said. She had to attend 2 sets of proceedings, one for the rape case, another for the case of her daughter's abduction. She said she got angry when the defense lawyer suggested in court that she had not been raped. Defense lawyer suggested that she had not been raped. What the fuck? I shouted back that the rape did take place, she said, adding that Banu Bhai, the activist supporting her in the struggle for justice, then helped to calm her down. She felt that the entire court was hostile to her and the judge did not believe her. This is why you believe sexual assault victims. This is why. Because even the courts are not going to believe someone. The defense is going to argue that there was no rape involved when it was a gang rape. That no one would come forward saying it was a gang rape. And the only witness was her daughter, even if the whole village was there. Another rural woman from Panchal district told us she was gang raped and left for dead in some bushes outside the village. When she regained consciousness, she found herself naked. She walked for miles without a shed of clothes to cover herself before she found a relative. She managed to get an FIR registered with the help of a local NGO. Her case was heard in court in another town far from her. She could not afford to go see her lawyer at all. So she was unsure of the state of the case. She felt the state should give financial assistance to rape survivors as they have means to secure justice. That said, the struggle of Gujarat's rape survivors was not and still is not limited to the courts of law. In a culture that virtually ostracizes victims of sexual violence and often their families and blames them for their suffering, these women have had to also fight for their dignity in their own communities. No surprise, then many of them did not report the crime committed against them. Take Khanbai's case. Legal papers suggest an attempted sexual assault of 2 young girls of his family. The rioters tried to disrobe them, but the family denies this happened. As for the girls, they were all but disappeared from legal proceedings along with 3 women eyewitnesses and made to bear the trauma in silence even though the assault took place in public. It was left on the sole male witness, Khanbai, to wage the legal battle for his daughter's honor. This conspiracy of denial, silence, and of course benefited the accused. It was hatched a local activist alleged with the help of both the defense and the prosecution lawyers. They made Khanbai believe that if his daughters turned up in court, they would be cross-examined by the defense lawyers and the sexual assault, which would destroy their marriages. It is not a secret that during the mass murders in Gujarat, scores of Muslim women were raped and murdered. 5 witnesses of the Narodi Patia massacre gave heartbreaking accounts of atrocities and the layers of social culture and illegal impunity that were put in place for the rapist murderers. The rioters raped Haider Bhai's wife and butchered Jesus Christ, what is wrong with this? Sorry guys. This happens. It is no secret that during the mass murder of Gujarat, scores of Muslim women were raped and murdered. 5 witnesses of the Narodi Patia massacre gave heartbreaking accounts of atrocities of the layers of cultural, social, and legal impunity that were put in place for the rapists and murderers. The rioters raped Haribai's wife, butchered, and 3 other members of his family. It has been over 12 years since, but Haider Bhai is still tortured that he could not get her justice. He did not let her speak to his wife, fearing it would bring back painful memories of the horror she was subjected to. He spoke in a slow, monotonous, lifeless voice. He constantly blamed himself for his wife's ordeal, cursing his luck that he could not give the police the names of the rapists. He knew them and where they lived. They were customers who had bought food from him from his wooden hand cart, which is colloquially called a larry. And every time he saw them roaming free, he felt a rack of guilt and shame. This is called oppression. This is called oppression where you can't even find justice because you're afraid of the society you live in, what they would think even if you go out and find justice. This is the situation that the right wing wants to create. This is a situation that helps the accused. It helps the oppressors. That's why you and me, need to create a society by talking and protesting and educating where people can get justice even at the worst of situations. This is why we do what we do. This is why you are part of this community as well. This is what you have to do as well. Given the discourse of shame that surrounds sexual violence, victims rarely, if ever, talk about it. So often, the only people who can give reliable information about these atrocities are the witnesses. Januben knew of 5 women who had been sexually assaulted in Narodi Patia. 3 of them were burned to death. And the surviving 2, only 1 received compensation of 5 lakhs. Another witness of the horror, Narodi Patia, Mumtaz Ben, recalled that the orgy of murder, rape, looting and arson continued from the morning of the 20th of February 2002 till late night. She said, हमारी नज़रों में, हमारी नज़रों के सामने मार दिया, हमारी नज़रों के सामने बलात्कार हुए, तोला दौड़ दौड़ के आ रहा था, यहाँ मत जाना, वहाँ पर उस गली में बलात्कार हो रहे हैं, उस गली में लाशें पड़ी हुई हैं, इस तरह से मार रहे हैं, ऐसे हादसे गुजरते आए सुबह से रात तक. People were murdered and raped before our eyes. Mobs were running around and shouting, "Don't go in the street. Women are being raped there. Don't go in that street. Bodies are lying there." Tragedy upon tragedy was taking place from morning till night. Mumtaz Ben said that the rioters did not spare anyone. They raped married women, young girls, even children, whenever and wherever they could. Some women were raped in full view of the public. Some were dragged away elsewhere. Did any of the victims receive any monetary assistance, medical attention or counseling? कैंप में लोगों ने सोचा कि अगर हम बता देते कि हमारी बेटी के साथ, हमारी बीबी के साथ, हमारे रिश्तेदार के साथ, हमारे मोहल्ले की महिलाओं के साथ बलात्कार हुआ है तो हमने पूरी ज़िंदगी शर्मिंदगी रहेगी, हमने पूरी ज़िंदगी शर्मिंदगी रहेगी. कितने इंसानों ने इतनी बड़े ज़ख्म ऐसे ही सह लिए. People who made it to the refugee camps thought if we revealed our daughters, our wives and relatives, women from our neighborhood were raped, we will be condemned to live in shame forever. So many people just had to live with great wounds, Mumtaz Ben said. She added that some victims who needed medical attention were treated privately, lest their ordeal be revealed and thus their family shamed. There is no information available on whether the rape survivors of Gujarat carnage received counseling in the camps or afterwards. In 2007, a courageous sting carried by Atish Khetan, then working for Telka magazine, revealed the RSS and the VHP leaders had encouraged attacks on Muslim women. This has been happening for long. Do not forget. These are the people behind all of that you see, all of the rape culture that you see, that is happening in India. They need it. They want to push it. Rape is oppression. Rape is oppression, and rape is used for oppression. For long before 2002 carnage, Hindutva Brigade had run a non-so-secret hate and campaign against Muslims, effectively projecting them in the collective Hindu conscious as the hated other. This served to justify the dehumanizing sexual assaults on Muslim women when the riots broke out. In a video by Ketan Singh, Babu Bajrangi, one of the architects of the Narodi Patia massacre, boasted that he had raped Muslim women in front of his wife. The video was later used as evidence to incriminate Bajrangi in the case. And then he was protected. Watch the video that Bliss sent. The Narodi Patia trial was historic as it was the first case of the Gujarat carnage where the court accepted that Muslim women had been subjected to sexual violence and ordered the state government to pay compensation to the victims. Read the book. Splintered Justice Living in the Horror of Communal Massacre Violence in Bhagalpur in Gujarat. Read the book. We have then the Muzaffar riots that happened in 2013. Similar case, similar story.
Many villages in Uttar Pradesh's Muzaffarnagar and Shamli districts were destroyed as a result of the communal violence that erupted in September 2013. 60 people from both the Hindu and Muslim communities were killed in these riots. Before the riots, Kutubah was home to approximately 2,500 Muslims. Now, hauntingly desolate mosques are the last remaining testaments of the Muslim communities that lived here. 8 Muslims were killed in Kutubah and their houses were set ablaze during the riots. The people from the Muslim community who fled the village during the riots never returned. Those displaced from Hindu-majority villages have moved to new settlements. Abdul Basit, who left the village of Lisad, now lives in such a settlement in Kandla. Basit's life has not come back on track, even after a decade.
आप देख रहे होंगे मेरे कच्चे मकान है, छत भी कच्ची है, बरसात में चूता है, बच्चों को मेरे एक वक्त खाना मिलता है, एक वक्त नहीं मिलता है. ये सब लोग इसी तरह जिंदगी बसर कर रहे हैं. गांव याद आता है लेकिन दिल नहीं करता लौटने का. याद आता है, गांव की हर चीज़ याद आती है, मदरसे याद आते हैं, मस्जिदें याद आती हैं, जो आज़ादी से घूमते थे वो याद आता है, सब कुछ याद आता है. 10 साल हो गए, आज तक दर जुगा तो है. उस गांव के पास में निकलना भी हमारे लिए वही दहशत का मंजर सामना.
The special investigation team that was constituted in the wake of the Muzaffarnagar riots inspected 510 lawsuits, but the court issued sentences for only 3 cases. One is a rape case in which the 2 accused have been given life sentences. However, the victim feels that the punishment given to the perpetrators is insufficient.
मैं रोती रही, चिल्लाती रही, उन्होंने मेरी एक न सुनी और भारी भारी से मेरे साथ भी रेप किया। तीनों मुलजिमों ने। तब से बहुत बीमार रहती हूँ मैं अब भी बीमार हूँ और मेरे दिमाग में से, जहन में से वो बातें नहीं निकल पाती। जो मैंने ज़िंदगी जी है, अपना सब कुछ खोया है, मैंने अपना गाँव छोड़ा, ये सज़ा भी मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि सज़ा भी कम ही है उनके लिए, तो उन्हें तो बस फांसी की सज़ा होनी चाहिए थी।
On August 27, 2013, 3 men, Shahnawaz, Sachin and Gaurav, were killed in an act of violence in the village of Kawal in Muzaffarnagar. The deaths of the Muslim and Jat men ignited communal tensions in the region. Multiple village council meetings were held and undercurrents of anger continued to gather steam. After less than 2 weeks of the incident, widespread violence erupted in the village. Sachin was married and had a son. His wife was granted a government job after his death. She lives in Muzaffarnagar now, away from his family. Sachin's mother spends most of her time alone. Gaurav's father, Ravinder Chaudhary, had to stay in jail for a few months on charges of Shahnawaz's murder. The legal proceedings in the case are ongoing. He is saddened by the politicization of his son's death.
इन मामलों में परिवार तो उजड़ी जा, भाई कमाई का साधन बंद हो जा, रोज कचहरी के कोर्ट के चक्कर काटने पड़े, इसमें पैसा लगे और मानसिक रूप से भी टूट जा आदमी।
6 members of Shahnawaz's family, including his 2 brothers, are serving jail sentences on charges of Sachin and Gaurav's murders.
सबसे बड़ा अफसोस तो यही है कि भाई बेटा मर गया, जेल चले गए, सुनवाई कोई नहीं।
Residents say that Muzaffarnagar has moved on from the 2013 riots. The hatred that grew between Hindus and Muslims is subsiding. However, the lingering question is whether those who endured the worst will ever see justice served.
Talking about Muzaffarnagar, this was released 4 years ago. 8 years later, rape survivor.
उन्होंने मुझे पकड़ी, किस तरह से मेरी बेइज्जती की, तो इस वजह से बात को लेकर बस मुझे टेंशन हो जाती है बहुत ज़्यादा, और फिर भी कोई मेरी सुनवाई नहीं हो रही कहीं पे भी।
In the 2013 riots, there were 7 women who had made allegations of rape. Of those 7, only 1 continues to be fought today, and that is Afreen's.
Now compare this with what we spoke about with Bilkis Banno, compare this with Congo, compare this with what we spoke about Sudan.
Case. Afreen has seen the other women compromise over the years because of pressure and because money was offered to them, but she has not broken her spirit.
जी मुजफ्फरनगर दंगों का जो केस है, रेप केस, उसमें मैं एक अकेली हूँ, बाकी सब ने फैसला कर लिया। काफ़ी कोशिश की कि मतलब मैं केस ना करूँ, केस वापस ले लूँ। हम लोगों को धमकियाँ भी मिली कि मतलब हम वापस ले लें वरना मार दिए जाएंगे। इतना टाइम हो गया, मुझे बदनाम भी किया लोगों ने, यहाँ पे भी सबको पता कि मतलब इसकी रेप हुआ था इसका, और मतलब ये औरत है, इसके पास कोई मेरे पास आने भी नहीं देता था किसी को, बच्चों को, अपने बच्चों को, जवान लड़कियों को। अगर हम उधर जाए भी तो लोग हमें छोड़ थोड़ा ही देंगे, तो हमारे घर तक हमला करें, हमारे घर तक हमें धमकियां दें, तो हम तो उधर उस एरिया की तरफ जाते भी नहीं। अभी भी मतलब उस एरिया की तरफ नहीं जाते। डर हमें इतना है बहुत ज़्यादा कि अभी पता नहीं वो क्या कर देंगे, क्या नहीं कर देंगे हमारे साथ में। अच्छा नहीं लगता, मैं उस हादसे को भूल नहीं पाई हूँ।
Where I currently stand is a Lakh village where Afreen used to live. This is the area where the Muslims in the village lived, but 8 years down, all these homes have been sold off. And new homes are coming in their place, owned by Hindus who live in the same village. This is where Afreen used to live. दंगों में टूटा फूटा गया। हाँ, तो कभी अजीब नहीं लगता आपको कि दंगे में से किसी का घर है?
अजीब कुछ नहीं लगता जी। अजीब क्या लगना समय बा, अजीब जाइए बेचारे यहाँ तक तो यहाँ रहते फिर कौन लेता, कोई भी नहीं लेता फिर तो ना।
पुलिस ने 5 लाख रुपए कर दिए, फिर उन्होंने पहले लूटपाट की कर रखी थी अपनी रिपोर्ट, वो उठा के फिर उन्होंने यह बलात्कार वाली कर दी। हम तो उसे जानते भी नहीं, आज तक भी नहीं देखी हमने दवा।
अच्छा।
हाँ, बड़े भाई की चली हुई उसने। हाँ, कंप्रोमाइज हुआ तैयार नहीं है, बस फिर क्या कर सके।
कोशिश करते हैं आपकी वो सुन ले कि हो जाए फैसला।
हाँ, तो हम तो कोशिश तो कर उससे भी करें, पर अभी क्या करें, बता एंडी हो लिए सारे गुआई हो ली उसमें। आई होगी रह रही शायद, वो हो जाएगी अब क्या तारीख का। मेरे खिलाफ ही दे रही है वो बयान, इन्होंने मेरे साथ ऐसा ऐसा किया। कुलदीप तो एक्सपायर ही हो गए इसमें,
सुना मैंने। और जो तीसरे हैं वो
मैसवीर, वो भी बेचारा अकेला है आदमी, वो भी कहीं 10 20 50 100 रुपए की मजदूरी कर रहा है रोज डेली।
टेंशन में इस वजह से हार्ट अटैक हुआ उसको।
पीते भी तो थे बहुत।
वो तो अब तो बंद कर रखी थी उसने, वहाँ से टेंशन में, वहाँ से केस के नाम आने के बाद में पीनी शुरू करी थी उसने।
अच्छा।
केस में जब नाम आया उसका, उसके बाद में टेंशन की वजह से पीनी शुरू करी थी।
अच्छा।
उसके बाद में हमने उनका डैड का सर्टिफिकेट लगवाया था कोर्ट में, उसके बाद में हम तो फिर गए नहीं वहाँ पे। अब पता नहीं इसमें क्या चल रहा है, क्या नहीं चल रहा।
कोई आवाज नहीं उठा रहा है मेरे लिए, मैं अकेली हूँ। तब तो सबने कहा था कि हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, ये है वो है, और अब कोई भी मेरे साथ में नहीं खड़ा, मैं अकेली खड़ी हूँ। लेकिन कोई दिक्कत नहीं है मुझे, मैं अकेली भी ठीक हूँ। सरकार को कभी तो मतलब किसी के दिल में रहम आएगा ही मेरे लिए कि करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए, वो तो मैं तो बस डटी हुई और डटी रहूंगी।
We are truthful, unafraid and independent.
Commentary on this is hard, but do you see this pattern now? Do you see the pattern that is coming out? Every time there is a communal violence, the police just stop working. Every time there's a communal violence against minorities, the police are subdued. FIRs are not registered. FIRs are not registered. People are normally in full support of the rapist, especially from the upper caste communities. Because again, this is a tool for oppression. This is a tool for oppression. Muzaffarnagar, India. It has been 3 weeks since two men accused of gang raping a woman in 2013 were jailed for 20 years, a rare sentencing for sexual assault during communal riots in India. Congratulatory calls to celebrate the courage and requests to interview the rape survivor, 35-year-old Afreen, has been ebbed since. Worse, her decade-long fight for justice that should have brought her a sense of closure is not over yet. Some let my name slip out while talking about me here in Muzaffarnagar. So people who have lived, who had no idea about this, was my case, got to know, Afreen said Al Jazeera, adding that she feels more vulnerable than before. This is the problem as well. They do not protect the victims. The people from the village and other parts of Muzaffarnagar, this is a societal problem. The violence began in August 27, 2013 after a 29-year-old Muslim man was stabbed to death over alleged harassment of Hindu girl. Minutes later, 2 men who stabbed the Muslim man were caught by a mob, beaten to death. Call me an idiot, but defund the police at this point. The police works for the government. Even the police is literally an arm of the government. It is a puppet. It is nothing to do with protecting the people. They are never going to defund the police because the police works for them directly. This is more of an argument for America to defund the police because they're at least expected to help the public. In India, they are not. They're literally not expected to help the public. In India, the police work in a two-tier system. The lower tier are the people who go in direct bharti from their region, and the upper tier, the officers, are transferred in to control the lower tier officers. It is the same issue that we talked about with the MLA system that is there. This is because the Indian police system is based on the system of governance that was put in place by the British. Our forefathers copied the system, took it directly and placed it upon us. The system is not meant for protecting the people. The system itself was banned in Britain, where it was initially used and forced upon us. The system is still used in India, because it is extremely effective to control the public, to direct the public, to suppress protests against whichever government is in place. This doesn't matter if it's the Congress, if it's the AAP, if it's the BJP or whatever. It does not matter. It is there to protect the government. It is not there to protect the people. None of these things come under... okay, I read that one. Sorry, the chat is mixed. Let's talk about Kathua.
I always believed I would get justice. My
Kathua
faith
was a
gave me
child
strength.
rape and murder case. It happened in 2019.
Even if it meant that I would need to sell my livestock or go hungry, I wouldn't hesitate.
The reason why I'm mentioning this case here, because there was a direct call for oppression in here.
My daughter deserved justice at all costs.
3 men have been jailed for life for the rape, torture and murder of an 8-year-old Muslim girl in India-administered Kashmir. 3 police, and I'm going to call it Indian-administered Kashmir because that is what it is. 3 police officers were found guilty of destroying evidence and sentenced to 5 years in prison. The victim, who belonged to a Muslim nomadic tribe, was found in the forest near Kathua city in January 2018. The case sparked widespread anger and made headlines when Hindu right-wing group protested over the man's arrest. Protested over the man's arrest. They were trying to protect the rapist. The case sparked widespread anger and made headlines when Hindu right-wing groups protested against the man's arrest. 8 people, including a former government official, 4 policemen, and a minor were charged in connection with the crime. One of them had been acquitted and the minor is set to try it separately. All of them had pled not guilty to the charges against them. The case has been among many high-profile ones that prompted Indian government to pass a new law which introduced a death penalty for anyone convicted of raping a child under 12. But it is still left to the judge's discretion to decide whether or not to hand out a death sentence. Guess what cases are handed out death sentences and which aren't? The 8-year-old girl went missing in the new year of 2018 and then battered body was discovered almost 3 weeks later. According to the investigations, the child was confined to a local temple for several days and given sedatives that kept her unconscious. The charge sheet alleged that she was raped for days, tortured, and then finally murdered. They added that the child was targeted because men wished to terrorize the tribe known as Guzars into leaving. Remember how I said rape is about oppression and eventually oppression of minorities? It is a tool that the right wing uses, is a tool the oppressors use. This is what it is. As a child is sexually abused every 15 minutes in India, according to the government crime figures, up to 2016, and there have been a steady rise in offenses against children. The BBC's Geeta Pandey in Delhi says India is home to the largest number of sexually abused children in the world, but there is a reluctance to talk about the topic, so the real murder number of cases could be much higher. Who are the convicted men? If you ask, I mean, if you ask the Times or any news, any like ANI, Times, OP India, they don't even report on these things. And even if they do, they'll be like, oh, rapist. They'll start with like naming a random Muslim name, and then they'll be like, oops, sorry, we are going to correct it. But the damage had already been done. Investigators said that Shahjeen Ram, a 36-year-old, his surname is Ram, by the way, 6-year-old retired government officer, alleged planned the crime with the help of the police officers. Surinder Verma, Anand Datta, Tilak Raj, and Deepak Kajuria. Let's read that again. Investigators said that Shahjeen Ram, of 60-year-old retired government officer, allegedly planned the crime with the help of police officers Surinder Verma, Anand Datta, Tilak Raj, and Deepak Kajuria. Ram's son Vishal, his nephew, a juvenile, and his friend Pravesh Kumar were also accused over the rape and murder. While Vishal was acquitted, Ram, Kujira, and Kumar had been sentenced for life. The remaining 3 have been handed 5-year sentences. After the verdict, the lawyer representing the child's family told BBC Punjabi that it was victory of constitutional spirit. He added that the whole country fought this case irrespective of religious affiliation, which is a good thing, which is why we need to come together, especially when these cases happen, especially in our societies, especially when you're talking to people normally even. Bring these things up. Talk about them. Spread awareness. It is on you and me. It is not just on a random organization or just this channel. It is on you and me as citizens of India to spread awareness about these things. Kathua case. We are going to read a script from an essay from the Police Project, which is, I don't know if you guys know, it is a good place to find news from time to time. A story of militarization, violence, and justice. The murder gang rape of a minor child from Kathua is soul-crushing. It must not be seen as a social sexual crime, because it is not. It is an oppression, but one that is deeply political and tied to the larger issue of militarization, occupation, and systematic use of rape as a weapon of war in the region of Kashmir. This case involves a premeditated plan to strike fear in the Gujar Bakerwal migratory pastoralist community, and the crime branch has proven this. Such extreme violence of a child is incomprehensible. The charge sheet is filed with the savage acts that were meted on the body of the young child, who was chosen because she was a soft target. This gang rape murder cannot be treated as apolitical, since it is proven beyond doubt that it was planned to drive out the Gujar Bakerwals, who are a marginalized Muslim community. Their presence has been a matter of growing strife for the local Hindu community. Raji Ram, who is now proven the main mastermind, has a clear track record of inciting sentiments against the Muslim community, and it is reported that he has even been harassing their women in the past. Sanji Ram groomed his nephew to kidnap the they just wrote I don't know. In this were aided and abetted by Deepak Kanjuria, an SOP in the local police or force, who is also the mastermind and has track record of spewing hate against the Muslim community. He's part of the police. He was a part of the police. It has been proven that he, along with the members of the police and other men, currently 8 in total, tried to cover up the case. They received clear political patronage to get the community activist Talib Hussain detained and cause impediments in the investigation. They received clear political patronage to get the community activist Talib Hussain detained and cause impediments in the investigation. The advocate for Deepika Singh, continued to be harassed to drop the case by the Bar Association of Kathua. In an unprecedented turn of events, the bar has mobilized in favor of the rapists and caused impediments in filing the charge sheet against the accused. The Hindu community, under the banner of Hindu Ekta Manch, continued to protest and strike, demanding the rapist murderers be released, while showing extraordinary strength in the face of immense adversary. Mohammad Yusuf Pujwal, A's father, along with his family, has fled the area due to threats. This is what they wanted. That is what they are achieving out of this. A form of oppression and segregation. Rape is a tool for them. It is not an act of passion. It is planned oppression from an oppressive community to an oppressed one. Think about it. Fight against it. It must be noted that the Hindu community did not allow A to be buried in the area, even though the family lawfully owned space for burial. In 1947, Jammu region became predominantly Hindu after a large-scale Muslim massacre was carefully orchestrated during the partition. While this shameful history is carefully hidden from common view, A's case brings back the horrors of a communal past and the potential for no doubt mindless but orchestrated violence that the Indian settler colonialism is capable of bringing back and rather has brought back. We have been saying this from the start. We will keep saying this until always. Now, after you have all of this information of the background, look at the Manipur case again. We'll look at the Manipur case again and tell me if this is not a pattern.
In Churachandpur, a city in the northeast Indian state of Manipur, families are still grieving the loss of their loved ones. Bebem lost her husband as a result of the violence that erupted between the Hindu majority Meiteis and the Christian Kukis on the 3rd of May 2023. Today, she brings her 3-year-old daughter to visit her father's grave at the cemetery dedicated to the Kuki victims.
Visiting this place brings back memories of the torture my husband endured. At times, I'm overwhelmed with anger, and I must gather my strength. He was the first one to be killed from Jiri Bam. He was dragged away to the road. He was then thrown into the river. I'm still angry, but I also pray for a strong heart.
The clashes began when the Kukis were protesting a court order recommending a special status for the Meitei majority, a move granting them land rights and government jobs. The Kukis, who already have the status, feared losing the special protection as a minority. The unrest escalated into one of India's deadliest ethnic clashes, with over 200 killed within 2 years. The conflict has displaced 60,000 people. Bebem is one of them. After fleeing her village over 200 kilometers away, she now lives in this relief camp with her daughter.
I don't feel safe there anymore because violence could erupt at any time. Running away was very difficult for me.
In the hills of Manipur, which are largely home to the Kukis, young men have picked up weapons. This 28-year-old left his customer service job in Mumbai to return home only to join an armed group. Despite a heavy military presence and calls by the government to return, armed men from both sides continue to patrol their regions.
When the war erupted, many of our women were raped, killed, and stripped naked. Even infants were killed, and all Kukis were hunted down. 2 years have passed, and Prime Minister Modi has never visited. Are our lives less valuable? Our aim and demand is separate administration from the Meiteis.
The state is now split along ethnic lines, with several checkpoints in between. Just 60 kilometers away, fresh clashes broke out between Meitei and Kuki farmers over the control of farmland. As the growing season begins, Nandaiba Mobi is afraid to return to his fields. Instead, he sticks to whatever land lies within the safe zone.
The conflict has disrupted our access to the market. Our farming has been halted, affecting our livelihoods significantly.
The village head Roshan shows us where the community once lived side by side. Now, there's an unofficial border that no one dares to cross.
The stream served as a border between Métis and Kukis. Historically, there is no such demarcation. We used to coexist peacefully. They used to come to us and we'd buy goods from them. We exchanged everything and lived in harmony.
As village chief, he questions the heavy army presence and the locals' need for permission to visit their own land.
As civilians, we are not as familiar with guns and the military as we are now. Most of the children feel scared, while others have grown used to it. Now guns have become a common sight in the village.
In this conflict, women have been the leaders, but also the victims of the horrific mob violence and sexual assault. Salam Ogbi leads the Mera Paibi, or torch-bearer women, a group formed to fight drugs, now defends the Methi community.
Let's see. Why is the government's inaction? Across India, experiments to forge a Hindu national community are predicated on the breaking of minorities, minoritized Muslims and Christians and Adivasis and Dalits. What is happening in Manipur is part of a bigger operationalized by the Hindu right decades ago. Capture the East. In the Northeast, the Modi government repositioned the 1991 Lok East policy to commence an Act East policy for militarization. Also, what are demands of both communities? Doesn't matter for now. The Kukis, the Métis, who are around 53% of the population, want to be recognized as a minority community. They want reservation, but that's a farce. The Kukis don't want that. Kukizos don't want that. The Métis want that. That was initially, but again, this is a farce. It is not about that. It is about to get rid of the Kukis. The Kukis do not vote for the BJP. They vote for other parties, local parties. The Métis vote for the BJP. They vote for the Hindu nationalist groups. They are the Hindu dominant community. That is why the support is there. Riots and community issues happen. They keep happening. That is not the point here. The point is the use of rape and the use of oppression tactics within these communities to brutalize a group, a minority group. So they leave. So they keep silent. They keep oppressed. So the current governance stays in power. This has happened in Gujarat. This happened in Muzaffarnagar. This is happening in Kashmir. This happens in Assam. This happens in Arunachal Pradesh. We covered every single instance of this. In March of 27, the Manipur High Court required the state government to endorse the inclusion of the dominant Hindu Métis community under the scheduled tribe designation. Such inclusion. Yeah, saw that the girl died. Yeah, she did. Rather, no, she didn't die. She was killed. She was killed by the people who raped her. She was killed by the government who allowed it. That was a murder. That was not a death. Such inclusions adversely impact the marginalized tribes such as the Kukizos, indigenous tribe, a majority of whom converted to Christianity to escape caste tribe oppressions. Métis comprise of 53% of the Manipur's population. 83% of Métis are Hindus. They are predominantly Hindu nationalist voting bloc for the BJP. Métis ethnic identity emerged through the joining together of various tribal groups. Initially opposed to their incorporation into the Brahmanical order, the Métis were progressively neutralized through their Hinduization and castification. Proponents of Hindu disparage the customary and constitutional rights of Christians and Muslims, Adivasis and Dalits, and those that convert from Hinduism to in India. Marginalized communities have been steadily declined access to reservations akin to affirmative actions, including at educational institutions. The selection and notification and denotification of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and the criminalization of tribes are mediated by the Hindu majoritarianism power politics. Made public on April 19, the Manipur High Court directive induced large-scale dissent. The protests of the Kuki community encountered brutal reprisals as the Hindu dissent Maithi and the Hindu Nationalist Militia executed a pogrom between 3rd and July 2023. More than 286 attacks were committed on Kuki-prevalent areas across Manipur. The act of terrorism deployed the excess power and impunity wherein the approximately 170 members of the Kuki community died. Over 48,500 people were displaced and 2,440 homes were torched or damaged. This is called as ethnic cleansing. This was the final goal. The goal of the government that it let it happen. We saw this before. This point by point happened in Gujarat. Do not forget. The same thing happened in Muzaffarnagar. They tried the same in Kathua. This is a playbook. This is the use of rape, use of terrorism as a tool for oppression of a community to increase the voting bloc, artificially increase the voting bloc for your government. The reason why Maithis were allowed to do this, do you really think the Maithis wouldn't have been stopped if the government were against this? Do you think if the CRPF was put in place, if the army was called, if Modi himself went, he disappeared for this entire, when this happened? Do you not remember? Do we not remember how Modi disappeared during the time that this was happening? Do you not remember that Modi disappeared during 2002? The only time they did anything was after the protests that followed against the government, for people were screaming for the government to do something. That is when things changed. That's why I keep saying we need to talk about these things. We need to protect our own. This is the time to do it. We have to talk. We have to get off our asses and talk about this and educate and get out of the fucking house and talk to people. Between May 4 and June 3rd, 255 churches were burned down and destroyed. Yeah, I remember how much I screamed in my friends and family circle about the Manipur conflict. Back when it was just started out, no one believed me. They just said, nah, if something like civil war happened, Modi will stop it by sending army. Now I know why he will not. I didn't know they wanted to isolate Kukis. This is straight up sedition. It is sedition for us to even speak about this, to be honest with you, Aman. That's why this podcast starts with how I will get arrested. Yeah, they wanted to isolate the community. They have succeeded because we didn't speak up. It is our fault. I'm sorry. This is the fault of every single Indian who watched their screens and did not do anything. This is the fault of every single Indian who sat on their asses and just imagined that this is not happening. It is all our fault. Because we are Indians and we are responsible for our people. Whether you're pro-government, whether you're anti-government, doesn't matter. This is all our fault for not getting off our asses. Raga and other opposition leaders talked about Manipur, but they didn't say this part out loud. Yes, obviously. See, they are not going to. They are not going to say this part out loud. No one is. They are not going to push for change. They are not going to push for protests. They are not afraid of sedition. They are afraid that if they change too many things right now, if and when they eventually come in power, things will be different for them. The reason why they don't directly talk against the UAPA is because they caused the UAPA. The reason they don't protest is because then it creates a pamphlet for the opposition to do it when they are in power. They themselves do not want to be kept in check when they are in power. So they are not going to do anything when the opposition is power. If they do anything, it is mutually assured destruction from both sides. They still expect to be in power when at one point Modi goes retires. They expect to be in power in the long term, so they just don't want to go against the government so much that they will be called into question when they are in power and such things happen. Forget sedition charges here. Forget all of that. It doesn't matter. They are not going to do shit. See, Aman, on another note, which is not a very different note, to be honest with you, especially when it comes to political parties in India, you do not have direct representation. You do not. None of these political parties or even any politician gives a fucking two fucks about their vote bank. Without a political awakening in this country where we say fuck off, we are not going to vote for you just because you are not the current government. We are not going to vote for you just because you are doing this or you are doing that. We are going to vote for you when you give us what we want, when you actually fight to keep India. Unless that happens, they are not going to give a fuck. The MLAs are not even living in your fucking city. The ones that are supposed to represent you. They all live in Delhi. Plus, they don't even have to be registered to vote in your city. They don't even have to be from your city, even. They can be anywhere in your state. They don't give a fuck. They give a fuck about their chairs. And unless people rise up and ask their representatives directly, what the fuck are you doing? Ask them directly. I want people in Wayanad or Varanasi to ask their representatives, Rahul and Modi, directly. What the fuck are you guys doing? I don't want people to be like, oh, Congress kya kar rahi hai? I don't want that. Doesn't matter. When you say Congress kya kar rahi hai, their chair isn't threatened because the image is very softened. Find who your MLA is, who your representative is, and ask him directly, what the actual fuck are you doing? Why aren't you not speaking up? Muh kyun band hai? That is what I want. I want every single MLA who was quiet during Manipur, during Muzaffarnagar, during Gujarat, during and throughout Kashmir, to be questioned personally. Why did they not speak up? Why did they not speak up when it was time to speak up and do their fucking jobs? No, don't question the Congress or the titles like BJP or AAP. Question the people directly. That is the only way they feel responsible, because they do not feel responsible for you. They in name do represent you, but they do not feel responsible for you. Make them feel responsible. Mass sexual violence against 2 Kuki women by the Hindu mighty mob did not receive widespread condemnation until mid-July, when a video depicting the public assault went viral. The mighty mob of reportedly 900 to 1,000 persons targeted a Kuki village with murder and plunder. They reported paraded 2 Kuki women naked, gang raping one of them. More women were raped. The violation and scrutiny have been unbearable for the community. hate speech, falsified statements depicting surrounded the atrocities. Mighty political leaders claim May 3 was just a small spark. The organization's RSS mouthpiece noted that the coordinating committee of the Manipur Integrity urged that Kuki militants, quote unquote, like they are trying to demonize Kukis, who are the oppressed group here, be proclaimed terrorists for waging war against civilians and security forces. That the World Mighty Council contended that the violence was planned by the Myanmar migrant Kuki Chin. Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh accused Kuki militants of narco-terrorism. This is Israel shit. They were doing Israel shit back then. They are still doing Israel shit right now. Again, it's been 2 years. The fight isn't over. They're still trying to isolate the group. The cycles of aggressions ensued. Arms and ammunition were looted from the state forces, largely by Mighties. Certain Kuki groups and individuals responded with force. Violence by members of Kuki community in early May displaced approximately 5,000 Mighties. In mid-June, Kuki persona reportedly killed non-Mighty men who were part of the mob that had torched Kuki homes, and in early July, 3 Mighty persons were killed. Favored by Union Minister and strident Hindu nationalist Amit Shah, the Manipur Chief Minister continues in office lauded for his immoderate stance against the Kuki and his support of dominant Mighty interests. These are the people who vote for them. The BJP is still in power because of Mighties. Do not forget. That is why the Mighties are supported. In places like this where the community is directly involved, they are going to force whatever MLA to do whatever here. The MLA, I'm not even joking, this might have been planned by the government to make sure the vote share increases. I do not even know what the current figures are, but I am pretty sure the current figures are going to be the Mighties have, like with proportion, the Mighties has increased to 80%, and there is no way even a Kuki representative can come in the 2 seats that Manipur has. And it would quote unquote be converted into a Hindu nationalist region where, at least through normal elections, an opposition will never win. The bloodshed for the divided Mighties, Nagas and Kukis, and the Christian, Muslim and Hindus, the Kuki alliance revoked their support to the BJP in the state legislative assembly. Hinduization, the plan to proliferate a mass movement to Hindουize the Northeast was operational decades ago. This is why I said the RSS has been doing it for a very long time. Do not forget, the RSS has 70 years over us because we are the only opposition right now to the RSS. The politicians don't count. All of their cadres are filled up. They were doing entryism with INC. Do not forget. Shashi Tharoor is an RSS member, or at least was. A lot of RSS men are in the INC as well. Entryism is a problem. Entryism is something we should be doing. It's already shared on the Discord. If it's not, I'm going to share it right now. This is why you should be on the Discord. Discord is where you get all these articles. You can have a read, go through them. This is information that you need. This is information that will help you. Not altruism, entryism. Entryism is the process of slowly and steadily filling up the ranks of your political opponents with people that favor you but are currently acting like they favor the other. Like RSS filling up the ranks, entryism. 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 It's what the RSS did with the INC. Slowly and steadily have members from the RSS fill up the ranks of INC. So by the end of it, even if they are talking like a lefty, they are actually in support of the RSS for most parts. This is how I believe that the RSS got unbanned. This is how I believe the RSS came into power in the first place. This is why I believe that Rahul Gandhi was so open about people leaving Congress in the first place because at some point he realized that most of them are RSS affiliates. Like, I'm not going to go easy on him, but I think that's why he was like, Jana hai to jane do. Most of them, but like with politicians, it's very iffy sometimes because most of them only want to be in power. But that is another thing that's a whole another thing. Like, this is what, like, that's why I keep saying, like, if you have heard me say this before, they have 75 years on us. RSS has been working on this for a very long time. We were born just now as compared to their own organization. So don't give up hope just yet. We have just started. By 1975, several Hindu branches were functional across Manipur. At the end of the 21st century, a BJP member was tasked with overseeing development there. Leading up to the following the demolition of the Babri Masjid in 1992, the Sangh Parivar group of Hindu nationalists organization escalated activities in Manipur, misleading that aggressive and non-consensual Christian conversions were rampant in the northeast. This has been happening for a very long time. Cookies did not get oppressed just right now. Do not forget. Yeah, you said like that. Elaborate on that. On, like, you have to be very specific. I get messages like 5 seconds later. And I have ADHD. I forget. Non-consensual Christian conversions were rampant. Yada, yada, yada. See, the point is, compare this with everything that we have seen. Everything that we have seen up till today. Look at this. Wait, my message. Okay. Figure out what you're trying to say or text me on Discord. I'm waiting because we are nearly done with this. Guy, I'm waiting. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk about, or rather show you, is a TED Talk. This is something tangential at this point, I would say. This is because this was not the point of the whole thing, but I found it like, hey, this is actually very important for you people to understand and everyone to understand, to be honest with you. So please hear it out. This is a 15-minute TED Talk on why it matters that you think rape is wrong. This is from Shirina Thakore. Again, this was from 11 years ago. I am very uneducated on all of who these people are. So I cannot give you any background information on Shirina Thakore. I apologize. I do not know you. If you ever want to come here and speak to the people here, very well, you're welcome. If you see this, obviously. I would love to have you here. I'm still testing out how to actually do it, but I would love to have you here if you want. Hold on, I'll just do this. What's the part that we need? What's the part that we need to infiltrate the RSS? You said something like that. Care. You can ignore also. Continue what you're doing. Dude, obviously I'm not gonna. I'm gonna address this again because first of all you're a friend. I wish we did that. Like, I wish we did entryism. I'm obviously not against it. It is a very good way of replacing the system with a better one. I would rather say do entryism in the RSS the BJP, and ban RSS. Like entryism into the BJP where everyone goes into the BJP and like everyone is so left that the BJP ends up becoming the left party. And finally becomes the Janta party and not just the Janta being Adani Ambani party. But that is like my wishful thinking. Like, that is my wishful thinking. Like, join the BJP en masse and make sure that you have a voice to say and like change the party into the most leftist party there is. Again, it's wishful thinking. It's like, it's obviously never going to happen, but a man can wish. I have to interrupt and say something for copyright and issues with like YouTube and Twitch and whatever. But I agree with her, and I don't really want to interrupt. I'm not going to give you any more information than she is, because she's first of all, she's correct. She knows what she's talking about. And even more, a man should not be talking about rape in general. You should be listening to her. One more thing here. I was given this poster as well. I do not live in Gujarat. I know this poster. It was translated in Marathi and submitted because this was an RSS thing. This was not just it was an RSS thing. It was not just for women Shakti in Gujarat. It was an RSS thing. I have seen multiple posts. So sex work is legal in India. Organizing sex work is not legal in India. That's the difference. So if like we have like red light districts in India, the workers there, if they are allowed to be part of sex work, legally speaking, if they are organizing it themselves. The moment someone else comes in to organize it, becomes illegal. Then it's considered a brothel. Or like a pimp thing, it's considered. Like, there's not really a good word to use here. So that is illegal. But sex in general is legal sex work. Making porn is illegal. Just to be clear. Okay, guys. Other than me just saying, hold on. Sorry, Sarin is just making a fuss. Aye. So, the reason what I'm talking about right now, oh, Jesus. Oh, what the fuck just happened? Guys, fuck, what's wrong? What's wrong with the stream? If you are on Twitch, did something go wrong on the stream? Anyway, other than my will to speak to her, which I want to do. Okay, perfect. I got a very weird notification that the stream has been temporarily blocked. Yeah, it's a very weird notification that I'm getting. I don't know why. Anyway, the point is we are leaving anyway, so that's perfect. So, guys, thank you for coming. If you know this person, please ask her. I would really love to speak to her more on this topic. Thank you for coming to the stream. I will see you on Thursday. Protest more. Talk about this stuff. Talk about all of this. Thank you for coming. Shabba khair.